Welcome back to high school sports.
Fans, I'm IHSA Commissioner Paul Knighty, and I just want to say, welcome back.
This is game time. This is Indiana high school sports. This is your IHSAA.
Hey, Indiana. Let's clear the air about vaping. Glue, rat poison, paint. We all know these products contain poisons like formaldehyde, arsenic, and lead. And these are just a few of the chemicals you'll find in e-cigarette vapor. Let's clear the air, Indiana. Don't puff this stuff. Visit don'tpuffthisstuff.com to join the fight and spread the word.
Calling officials cheaters or corrupt, it's not a game.
Insulting referees, it's not a game.
Threatening officials, it's not a game.
Berating young umpires, learning the ropes, it's not a game.
Violent language in the stands, it's not a game.
Verbal abuse from the sideline, it's not a game.
Screaming at a referee in the parking lot, it's not a game.
The 2023 college football season is underway across the country from Division I to Division III, and we're looking forward to bringing you a lovely night of action here in Terre Haute, Indiana. I'm Galen Clavio along with Mike Petrie, and welcome to IndianaSRN's coverage of Rose-Hulman Fightin' Engineers football as the Fightin' Engineers take on the DePauw Tigers in a cross-state clash, one that's seen a lot of fascinating outcomes over the course of the series history. Mike, it's great to be back on the mic with you again, and it's looking like a pretty good night for football.
Yeah, it should be a lovely night. Nice and warm, and that's going to test both of the teams. I like this idea of DePauw and Rose-Hulman playing week one. It's a good out-of-conference test, and little bragging rights in the neighborhood.
These two teams matched up last year in the first game of the season. We're going to talk about that in just a second. We're going to go ahead and, though, bring you our game day sponsors as we start things off. This game broadcast is brought to you by Morales Group, building better futures one story at a time. By Aspen Creek Grill, why do anywhere else for delicious food? Broadcast is also brought to you by Bertner Electric, providing quality electrical services in central Indiana. By Boilermaker 374, second to none in quality and performance. By Clean Slate, inspired innovation that moves businesses forward. And by Piper Logistics, from warehousing to transportation and everything in between. And thanks to all those folks for sponsoring the broadcast tonight as we talk a little bit about what we're seeing here tonight between these two squads. Both of these teams, as we mentioned, matched up last year almost to the day, September 3rd, 2022. DePauw comes out the victor. They were hosting that game in Greencastle, a 17-14 victory. But a game that Rose-Hulman was incredibly competitive in. They led 14-3 in the third quarter. DePauw just figured out a way to win that one over the course of the last 30 minutes or so and racked up the 17-14 victory.
Yeah, and that first half is about the last time any team was really able to shut down the DePauw offense last year, which turned out to be pretty much a juggernaut, running the ball and throwing the ball. I think that you're going to see an interesting mix because a lot of the players that were on the field at that time, both offensively for DePauw, defensively for Rose-Hulman, have moved on through graduation, so we're going to see the new class come in.
Yeah, both of these teams lost quite a bit, and it's interesting when you think about the contrast and what we can expect in this one. For Rose-Hulman, they get 9 of their 11 primary starters back on offense, and that includes a lot of production across the field, essentially, as this team really figured out a way as the season went along to put things together. They had a tough start to the season last year, but the offense really got going. They won 6 out of their last 7 games, and they've got some really fascinating pieces on this offense. Conversely, Rose-Hulman's defense lost quite a bit. They've only got 2 starters coming back, but DePauw isn't bringing everybody back either.
Right. Offensively, DePauw loses 60% of their passing, including their leading passer, Wally Rainey, a senior, had a very good season running and throwing the ball for the DePauw offense, and that's going to lead, I think, to some changes in how they approach their offense. We'll get into specifics as we get a little closer to kickoff, but and then they lose their leading receiver and lost about 40% of their receiving yards from last season. So some new guys are going to have to step into some new roles for this DePauw Tiger offense. One guy they've got back, though, Gus Baumgartner, their leading rusher. It's always nice when you've got one rock that you can come back to.
Expectations pretty high for both of these teams entering the season. DePauw picked to be first in the North Coast Athletic Conference. And, of course, Gus Baumgartner, as you see on the screen there, just racked up quite a few yards last year, 770 yards overall on the ground at 4.8 yards per carry. This was a really successful player for this offense. And it's going to be interesting because, of course, he's not the only key offensively that we're going to be seeing. Nathan McCahill going to be a key element as well for this DePauw team.
Yeah, and what really interested me, McCahill did not start out the season as the starting quarterback, but he came in, whether through injury or coach's decisions, about middle of the year last year, and against Ohio Wesleyan and Kenyon, they opened up the offense and were throwing the ball all around the yard. He had 313 yards against Kenyon, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So really once he got into the flow of the passing offense, they became a passing offense, and I think you're going to see a much more wide-open team this year for DePauw.
You can see the Fighting Engineers congregating in the end zone. They are going to be led offensively by the returning starter at quarterback, the senior from Petaluma, California, Miguel Robertson. He had quite a season last year for this Rose-Hulman team. 68.5% completion percentage, over 250 yards a game, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. This was really the linchpin for a lot of what they wanted to do offensively.
Yeah, and again, he comes out, had a number of big games, but the game against Defiance last year on October 29th, he goes 324 yards and 7 touchdowns against 0 interceptions. So he can certainly put up some numbers on the scoreboard.
Of course, you can't be a successful quarterback without a target, and he's got a heck of a target out there on the outside. Daniel Hueri, a preseason All-American, and an amazing statistical season last year. 75 catches, 939 yards, 13 touchdowns overall, 12 of those through the air. And I think as we watch this combination try to unfold what they're trying to do in this game, it's going to be really fascinating to see how DePauw tries to counter that connection.
Yeah, it will be a very tough challenge. Impossible to guard him one-on-one. And Jalen Hobbs on the other side, actually another big receiver that they are bringing back. So they are bringing back a lot of the production that they had offensively. It's just a matter of now, you've had a full offseason. How much do you tweak from what was working? How much do you really want to move around? And I think a lot of times in game one, coaches can kind of outsmart themselves. They go away from what worked at the end of last year and think, oh, well, everybody's got film on that. Let's move things around. I think you've got to go back to the fundamentals of what you do really well. And Rose-Hulman, they've got a good one in Miguel Robertson. He can throw the ball, he can run the ball, and they're going to be pretty dangerous.
You can see the Fighting Engineers getting ready to take the field. We'll take a quick break, come back, talk a little bit more about this matchup, and get ready for the start of the game. This is IndianaSRN Broadcasting with Rose-Hulman Fighting Engineers football.
My name is Brittany. A little thing I love about the Egg White Grill is the toasty English muffin. It's toasted perfectly. It's just a little crispy, but not like hard crispy, but just crispy enough that when you bite into it, everything is perfect.
My name is Curtis, and I love the Egg White Grill because the egg itself, it's like soft and fluffy, like a pillow. I wouldn't eat my pillow, but I'd eat the Chick-fil-A breakfast egg white sandwich for sure.
They say nice guys don't finish first. So maybe it's time to reconsider what it means to be first.
It's about being your best, but knowing you could be even better.
It's being present, but respectful of history.
You sure you want to make that move?
It's donating something more valuable than money.
It's believing in yourself and something bigger.
It's coming from different families, but treating each other like brothers.
It's not just being a man, it's being a Mason.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium for Rose-Hulman versus DePauw this evening. Pretty hot conditions out on the field tonight, Mike. 87 degrees. That's the ambient air temperature at kickoff. It's a lot hotter down on the field, but the sun's going to go down here shortly. So we've almost got a tale of two different types of games that'll get played in terms of what the players are going to be facing temperature-wise, sun exposure-wise, and just where the sun is coming in and hitting them in the eyes as they're going down the field.
Yeah, I think that especially on the far sideline, it'll be interesting as you're looking out to the field. You'll be looking basically right into the sun as it's setting. They did a nice job in terms of stadium design here because the SRSC on the west end of the stadium does a good job of blocking that sun, but there are going to be areas where you're going to be looking right into a glare.
As we look at these two teams, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but DePauw predicted to be the #1 team in the North Coast Athletic Conference. According to the preseason vote, they got 6 out of the 9 first-place votes overall and 77 points total. Wabash picked second in that conference, and then Denison picked third. Rose-Hulman also getting some consideration in the HCHC. They're picked second. They got 1 first-place vote. So pretty high expectations for both of these squads as they head into this 2023 football season.
Yeah, as you'd expect, DePauw has definitely been on the upswing the last few years, really seen unprecedented success. And then on the flip side, and now it's a matter of continuing it. That's one thing you see in college. Of course, you get one class that kind of sets the standard. Everybody else who follows has to continue that success. And then Rose-Hulman, with what they are bringing back offensively, it's not a surprise that they are going to be picked as highly as they are. As you mentioned, they finished 6 of their last 7 games they win, and really were playing their best football at the end of the year, which is what you want. But for tonight, you want to play your best football tonight.
And especially against a team with the quality of DePauw. They made the Division III playoffs last year. They lose in the first round to Carnegie Mellon, but this is a team that's been to the Division III playoffs 2 years in a row. They played Rose-Hulman in 2021 and
got their first postseason win then.
Absolutely. the Rose-Hulman Marching Band for that rendition of the national anthem as both teams get set to take the field here officially. And Mike, as we go into this opening quarter, what are some things that you would be looking for from both teams?
Well, I think offensive structure is going to be important. Both teams last year, they like to run the ball more than they passed it, but DePauw was a lot more successful doing that. They both run the ball about 60% of their play calls, but DePauw gets their yards at about 50 and 50, and so they are not as dependent on the big plays from their passing game. Rose-Hulman got about 60% of their yards and 65% of their touchdowns through the air, so they are much more of a run the ball, set up the pass.
Daniel Hueri and Jalen Hobbs back for Rose-Hulman to receive this opening kickoff as they will be getting the ball first here in the first quarter. The kickoff about to come off the foot of Ben Gomez, the sophomore from Indianapolis. The crowd on both sides ready to go. And we're looking forward to getting the football season kicked off here at Cook Field. Received by Hobbs, and he spins. Gets it out to about the 17-yard line, and Rose-Hulman will start their first possession of the season from there.
Nice coverage by DePauw. It's not a bad decision by Hobbs to run it out necessarily, but he did have the opportunity. He could have taken a touchback there. Always a little bit of a risk-reward. He had the chance. He could have gotten big yards. Instead, DePauw covers well, and they'll start deep in their own territory.
Yeah, the ball gets spotted at the 16. So the first offensive play of the Rose-Hulman season about to take place. Pass a bit short there. Tried to get it out to Hueri on an out route, and it'll be second down and 10.
That was pretty well covered, but you can see the idea is you just want to get the ball outside to your playmakers, give them a little bit of space, and you're not going to see a lot of long passes where the ball's in the air necessarily for a long time. It's more get the ball to your weapons.
Good job by the DePauw defense there as they absolutely stuff that running attempt by Grant Ruperta. And it's going to be third down. You can see the starting lineup there offensively for Rose-Hulman. Ruperta back in the backfield with Robertson, with Hobbs, and Hueri out on the edges with Chase Wilkinson as the third wide receiver.
Ruperta was the leading rusher for this Rose-Hulman team, 871 yards.
Nice throw attempt there by Robertson, but excellent defensive play. That was really well done by Matthew Coons there for DePauw, and it'll be a 3-and-out for the Fighting Engineers to start things off.
And an excellent start for the DePauw Tigers. And I think sometimes when you've got an offense that can put as many points up as DePauw did last year, the defense gets overlooked a little bit. They held teams to 15 points per game. They were very stout on their own side.
So Rose-Hulman going to punt this one away. Back to receive is Caden Whitehead. Receives it just around midfield, and a nice job covering by Rose-Hulman as they bring him down at the 49-yard line. So the Tigers will start their first possession from there, and I'm sure we'll hope to have a little more success than Rose-Hulman did on their first attempt.
Yeah, good field position for the Tigers. Honestly, I'm surprised that he didn't fair catch there.
Nathan McCahill going to lead out this starting lineup on offense. We already talked a bit about some of these individuals. Of course, Gus Baumgartner, the other statistical standout, and Baumgartner going to split off here to the left side. 4 wide receiver set for DePauw. And, of course, they'll hand off on the first play. Some good pursuit. Flag coming in, and that coming in from the side judge. Might be a hold here on the perimeter, but we'll see what the call is.
Yeah, that's about the only thing I could think it would be. No, yeah, holding on offense. So
yeah, the signal preliminarily here is offensive holding, and that's going to come back from the spot of the foul, which was the Rose-Hulman 48. So this will end up with a first and about 18, maybe a little bit further back than that, as they're going to spot the ball at about the 41-yard line. So not the start that DePauw wanted there either, but certainly for Rose-Hulman, the pursuit was what helped generate that holding call in the first place.
Absolutely. Everybody strung the outside run out, and essentially that's the big key. You've got to get enough bodies out there that Baumgartner's running east and west trying to figure out, okay, where's there going to be a hole? Just really none developed.
Baumgartner gets the handoff, another tackle there in maybe 1 or 2 yard gained there, so it'll be a second down and long. DePauw setting the offense up relatively quickly here, as they clearly don't want to let Rose-Hulman get set defensively.
Yeah, a little sugar huddle looks like. They don't break any, the linemen don't come back, and makes the defense stay ready.
Pass down the field and some contact, and a flag is going to be thrown. I could definitely see where there would be some protests, as that looked like Cameron Dorsey out there on single coverage might have pulled down the receiver, but it looked more like incidental contact, but not in the eyes of the official.
It looked like their feet got tangled as they were running, and it was maybe, I think it was the rolling over actually after they fell that drew enough attention from the official that he felt like he had to throw the flag.
Smart play, though, by Nathan McCahill. He had one-on-one coverage on that left side, and you throw it down the field, stuff like that will happen. So instead of a 3rd and long, DePauw going to have 1st and 10 at the Rose-Hulman 43.
Yeah, a big penalty set them back, and then they get a fortunate penalty call, helps them move forward.
Nice stop in the backfield there, as Rose-Hulman getting some excellent penetration. And that was Riley Lopian with the tackle. So DePauw really struggling in some of the individual areas here of the offense running. But then again, so did Rose-Hulman. Both of these defenses really came to play so far.
Yeah, I think that is also a signal of early in the season, defensive lines are generally going to be a little more cohesive. Offensive lines still kind of figuring out, one, who's the best 5 and how do they best fit together. A little easier to figure that out on the defensive side for some reason.
Cahill pulls that back and tosses it out, and a nice catch, and running down the field is Jalen Smith. He could go, and he does. Touchdown, DePauw. The Tigers draw first blood, and that was an excellent run after the catch by Jalen Smith.
Yeah, great job. He shakes off one tackler, and he was out one-on-one with the defender. So, that's where you get that risk reward as a quarterback, because you throw the ball to this receiver who's your best leading receiver anyway, and if he's able to shake one guy, great. If he's not able to, you're still picking up enough for a first down.
Jalen Smith, the junior out of Willowbrook, Illinois, scores the first points. Had a late substitution coming on, a couple of them here as we get ready for this point after attempt. So they'll keep the clock stopped until this is, you get the player running off the field, and now we're set to go. Kick is up, and it is blocked. So Rose-Hulman able to get something positive out of that, and we'll be back after this. Welcome back to Cook Stadium in Terre Haute, Indiana. Rose-Hulman trailing DePauw 6-0. The Tigers able to score a touchdown, but a blocked extra point has kept the Fighting Engineers within a score of being able to tie, and a nice first drive there for DePauw.
Yeah, they got a bit of a fortunate break on the pass interference, and then I think McCahill went back to that same matchup. Defensive back maybe a little bit leery of getting called again, and then gets shaken off on the tackle.
Nice return there for Rose-Hulman. That was Hobbs. And it looks like the Fighting Engineers will get their next offensive possession starting at the 26-yard line. You can see the replay of that last touchdown pass, and just a nice job after that catch to get himself down the field and avoid the defenders.
Yeah, once he got out of the reach of the one tackler, he saw green grass and was beeline towards the end zone. Green turf, I suppose I should say, to be more accurate.
Handoff on first down, and a nice job of rumbling for some yardage there by Grant Ruperta. That'll be second down and call it 6.
I think that's one thing you always like to see as an offensive coordinator is to see the running back take a hit and still keep moving forward. He got about 3 yards after contact.
Little miscommunication there as Robertson, I think, thought that he was going to get Jalen Hobbs on a fly pattern, but he pulled up short, and it'll be third down and 6.
I think in all honesty, he might be lucky that Jalen Hobbs pulled up short because that pulled the defensive back who would have been in better position to catch it. I think it landed out of bounds, so I think he's all right. But
third down pass completed, and that's going to be shy of the first down. That completion going out here to Chase Wilkinson on the near sideline, but that'll leave a 4th and 2.
As just an observer, as a fan, those plays drive me crazy because that had no chance at getting to the sticks. You need 6 yards, and you run a play where you're going to catch the ball. Best case scenario is you're going to get knocked out of bounds 2 yards shy of the first down.
You always hope when you throw one of those that you can pick up some yards after the catch. It didn't happen there, and a punt upcoming here for Rose-Hulman, their second of the game. End over end, and a fair catch going to be called for there and taken at about the 27-yard line by Caden Whitehead.
Caden Whitehead, I think, called a fair catch based on his experience from the previous punt return, where he was a little late and just decided not to call the fair catch and got clobbered for it. That time he had about 3-4 yards of running room and called fair catch and immediately knew he probably shouldn't have.
So DePauw comes back out, trying to continue the momentum they picked up on that first offensive possession. McCahill in the shotgun, as he's been on every snap so far. And a handoff on a bit of a sweep here, and picking up close to 8 yards is Gabe Quigley, the tight end. Quigley didn't have a huge role in the offense last year, but he did contribute some. 28 catches, 284 yards, had 3 touchdowns, and a nice set of wheels there as he picks up 9.
Yeah, play that you see quite a bit in high school, just a simple jet sweep. You send one guy in motion, and just before he gets to the quarterback, you snap the ball, hand the ball off, and he's racing forward.
It's not Gus Baumgartner in the backfield right now. It is actually Caden Whitehead, who, of course, we saw make the fair catch on that punt. So interesting shift there personnel-wise. And Whitehead will take it, and he'll run for the first down and a couple yards more out to the 41.
Interestingly enough, and Whitehead doesn't have the body for this, but that was almost more of a play that you see with a old-school fullback. You just go get that one yard. He lowered his head, got what he needed, and they get a first down.
We see a lot of more slender frames in the backfield these days as speed has really become more important than power in the running game in football these days. So 1st and 10. McCahill fakes, and he's in trouble. He'll get sacked. 3 Fighting Engineers converge, 4 really on McCahill, and another excellent defensive play by Rose-Hulman. They've had a few of those so far in the backfield.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was intended to be a fake. I think he tried to hand that off and just wasn't able to complete that. He holds on to the ball and wisely does so. You'll take losing 2 or 3 yards over having the ball squirt out, and then you can have a real disaster.
2nd and 12 now for the Tigers. McCahill looking and a screen to Whitehead, and again, good pursuit. Almost broke free, and he'll pick up some of the yardage that was lost on that last play and a little bit more up to the 45. It'll be 3rd down and 6.
That was about 3 inches from being a 5-yard loss and about 3 inches from being a touchdown either way, because he almost, if he breaks that last tackle, I'm not sure there's anybody coming from Rose-Hulman over to get him. But on the flip side, they sniffed out this screen pretty well. He did a great job just to get himself forward and get as many yards as he did.
McCahill handles that high snap, looks downfield, and he has a man wide open. It's Quigley to the 20, to the 10, and to the house. Touchdown, DePauw.
My goodness, Quigley was looking back into the sun and was so wide open. I've got to think going through his head is just make sure you catch this, because, and he did a very good job. A lot of times when you've got that much room around you, both in front and in back, you start running for the end zone before you caught the ball. He did a good job waiting, looking back into the sun, made a nice catch, turned and ran.
Joseph Sullivan, the kicker, going to try to convert this point after the failed one previously. And it goes in. It's 13-0 DePauw. We'll be back right after this.
Anxious over algebra? Call Ask Rose, the free science and math homework helpline. It's free world-class tutoring. Just call, chat, email, or screen share. Learn more at AskRose.org. Confused by chemistry? Call Ask Rose, the free science and math homework helpline. It's free world-class tutoring. Just call, chat, email, or screen share. Learn more at AskRose.org.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium in Terre Haute, Indiana for DePauw versus Rose-Hulman. Along with Mike Petrie, I am Galen Clavio, proud to be a part of this IndianaSRN broadcast, and Rose-Hulman staring down the barrel of a 13-0 deficit, a very different start to this game from what we saw between these two teams a year ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there's anything they can take as solace, it's that last year it was DePauw that came back from a 14-3 deficit early on. Different story here. And Rose-Hulman defensively, it hasn't been consistent breakdowns, but it's been breakdowns, 2 really big play breakdowns that have led to scores.
Yeah, the Fighting Engineers have really gotten a lot of pressure in the backfield, and you like to see that, but the secondary play really needs to get better if they're going to stay in this game. Tigers will boot this one deep, and it'll be fielded in the end zone, and again, brought out by Rose-Hulman. Looking for a seam is Hobbs, and he will be brought down at about the 23-yard line.
All right, so that time he doesn't lose necessarily a whole lot of yards. But, yeah, you saw my eyes get really big as soon as he caught it, had to take a little stutter step to gather himself, and then still decided to take it out. That's a gutsy decision.
Just a reminder that this broadcast is copyrighted by IndianaSRN and the Heartland Collegiate Athletic Conference for the private use of our audience. The use of pictures, videos, and audio without the expressed written permission of the HCAC is prohibited. It'll be 1st and 10 here for Rose-Hulman as they try to get something going on offense, and they don't do it on that play as that run attempt is stuffed, maybe a half-yard gain.
Yeah, what you need from Rose-Hulman, you just need a little bit of a drive here. You don't necessarily need to get points, but they really cannot afford to go 3 and out or turn the ball over quickly.
That was Jay Smith on that attempt. Now a quick play here as they try to get it to the preseason All-American, and Daniel Hueri is eaten up by the Tigers' defense. He is thrown for a loss of about 6.
And that was DePauw just reading the scouting report. They knew where Rose-Hulman's going to try to go when they need yards, and they need yards fast. DePauw all over that one.
So Rose-Hulman facing a 3rd and 15. They'll split 3 right receivers off to the far side. A little rollout draw play, and tackled after a pretty decent gain was Jay Smith, the sophomore out of Evansville, Indiana, but not nearly enough, and it looks like the Fighting Engineers will be forced to punt once again.
Yeah, 3 and out one more time. I tell you what, I do like that rollout. Gives you a little bit of a counter action, but doesn't take extra time in the backfield. A lot of times teams can outsmart themselves, and they're trying to run a counter, and meanwhile the opposing defensive line is set up shop in the backfield.
Good job by DePauw not to bite too much on that. They really stayed home. Rose-Hulman, another nice booming punt. This is going to drive Whitehead back, and he's going to let it bounce and decides not to pick it up, surprisingly, and it rolls all the way to the 12-yard line where it'll be down by Rose-Hulman. That's a mistake by Whitehead.
Yeah, that was a big mistake. He probably did the right thing not picking it up on the initial bounce, but then once it had slowed down, I think he had just gotten far enough away from everybody. You've got to take the chance to go ahead and try to pick that up.
We haven't had a chance to talk about the Rose-Hulman defense, but you can see there the starters, Riley Lopian, we've seen a bit. Peyton Gernowitz, a pretty big part of this defense as well, and that whole group needs to come up with a big stop here for Rose-Hulman as they're already facing a 13-0 deficit. Cahill on the handoff, and a good job by Rose-Hulman to swarm there, but still about 3 yards picked up as Gus Baumgartner getting into the action. Baumgartner last year, almost 5 yards per carry and 11 touchdowns, 770 rush yards throughout the course of the season.
And you can see why the DePauw offensive line just dominating. When you're watching a game from up in the press box and it looks like the tackle is being made right at the line of scrimmage, and then you look up and it's second and 6, 2nd and 5, that means the offensive line is dominating.
Another handoff to Baumgartner. He will burst through and get close to first down yardage. He might have picked it up. Looks like he did. They'll give him the first.
Yeah, a good burst there. He was patient, waited for the hole to develop, and then was able to head to the yard marker. I like these yard markers that they have out here that show the 10 yards.
You think they could introduce those at the Division I level, perhaps,
that
but
would be nice.
You got to come down to D3 to get that kind of technology. Or maybe it's just Rose-Hulman that has
say,
that kind of technology.
This is what engineering can get you.
That's right. Baumgartner with the 3rd consecutive run, and again he rumbles forward, picks up about 6.
And now you're seeing DePauw, and this was what they did so well last year, that they could beat you through the air, they could beat you on the ground. They've already shown how dangerous they can be in the air, but now it's a matter of now they're going to chew up some yards and really put Rose-Hulman on the back foot.
Seth Menser in the backfield now alongside McCahill as Baumgartner definitely earned a rest, and Menser will get the first handoff as he's in the game. Almost popped out there, but he hangs on to it, and he'll pick up another DePauw first down.
Yeah, I think the coaching that he's going to get when he heads back to the sideline, one, get yourself going north and south a little bit more, and two, when you do make that cut, hold on to the ball, because that was almost a disaster for the DePauw Tigers.
Play call coming in from the sideline here. Menser still in the backfield alongside McCahill. And he will take the handoff and do some damage with it. Another first down picked up by DePauw as they are just ripping off huge chunks of yardage so far.
What I think you're seeing, this Rose-Hulman, we're starting to see them substitute a little bit more liberally on their defensive line, because that defensive line has been out there for a long time in this first quarter. In the sun, looks like they're getting worn down a little bit on this drive.
Now, Rose-Hulman has to be a little bit on their heels given what happened. They played really good defense for several plays on both of those previous drives, only to have it undone by big plays. So first down and 10 at the 45, and a handoff to Whitehead. He'll plunge into the line and pick up about 4.
And what you see with this DePauw offense, there's obviously a lot of give and take. What's more detrimental to a defense, whether it's getting nicked and cut 1,000 times on a drive or with these big gashes. DePauw has shown both. And that's where you're really dangerous as an offense.
McCahill with the hard cadence, and now they'll get the play call in from the sideline. He'll wipe his hands off. Imagine the perspiration's got to be a little difficult to deal with as the sun still has not gone down behind the building next to the stadium. He'll take the snap, rolls out to his left. Had to fake it there, and a nice job of contain and pursuit. Didn't see who that was. Looks like it was 42 for Rose-Hulman. That is, of course, Evan Gass, the linebacker. So good job by Gass to get pursuit out there in the flat, and a big 3rd down and 4 now for this DePauw Tigers team.
Yeah, for Rose-Hulman, you've got to get yourself off the field. This is the first 3rd down that they've seen in a couple of drives, and they've got to get themselves off the field and get the offense moving.
Handoff to Bumgardner, and he will easily pick up first down yardage as that center of the Rose-Hulman defense is really struggling on this drive to contain the push.
Yeah, offensive line for DePauw is just doing a fantastic job. Led out there by number 75 for the Tigers, Adam Amons, doing a very good job at the center, or at the guard position, and really everything going interior of the line. They're not going outside a whole lot. They're just punching Rose-Hulman in the gut and seeing what they can get.
Michael Nowak in at middle linebacker for Rose-Hulman. He'll try to pursue on this handoff, and a good job by Rose-Hulman. But a flag comes in late. That might be a face mask, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Now it looks like a hold.
Holding.
So it'll go against DePauw, and that'll almost certainly be pushed back. Second holding call so far on the Tigers, and that's been kind of the one flaw in their offensive delivery so far.
A couple of big penalties, and that's what really limits you when you are running the ball as well as DePauw is. When you get pushed off of schedule, you can't run the ball nearly as effectively, because what we've seen DePauw do, they are content to not only average 5 yards a carry, but that's 5 yards with a maximum of 6 and a minimum of 3 or 4. They'll take that every time. You can't really do that when you've got to go 20 yards.
1st and 20, and another jet sweep attempt, and Rose-Hulman had it sniffed out, and a nice job on that tackle as they take Quigley down. Quigley did pick up a few yards there, though, and he deserved it as he was able to do some juking in the backfield and just get away from what looked like a surefire extra couple of yard loss.
A nice dive by Quigley gets him some positive yards as opposed to being Quigley down under.
So it'll be 2nd down and 17. And the clock continuing to run as we're already at the minute mark to go in this first quarter of play from Cook Stadium in Terre Haute, Indiana. McCahill takes the snap. He'll look for Ballantyne here on the near side and just overthrew him. I think Ballantyne kind of pulled up a little bit there, maybe lost the ball in the sun slightly. Good defense, though, by Rose-Hulman. It'll be 3rd and long.
Cameron Dorsey was right in the shirt of Ballantyne, not letting him get any room whatsoever. If that was going to be a completion, it was going to take a perfect pass and a perfectly thrown ball, and really it was going to take a perfect route from Ballantyne.
Rose-Hulman looking for their first defensive stop of the game with 48 seconds left, and 3rd and 17. McCahill will fake it, and they'll run a draw, and it's sniffed out immediately. Excellent play by Rose-Hulman. That tackle there from, well, it was a couple of players out there for Rose-Hulman really heavily involved in that. Number 6 for Rose-Hulman, I think Brian Schmidt, although not totally sure about that numbering, as the rosters we got originally had a couple of errors in them. But regardless, a good job by Rose-Hulman as they sniffed that out, and they forced the first punt of the game for DePauw.
which they desperately needed. Ethan Swanner, also the defensive lineman in the middle there, did a very good job of essentially just staying on his man. I don't know if he sniffed it out, but he was in the area.
That punt, a bit of a high wobbler, and picked up by Hueri, who is trying to break out of jail here and struggling to find an avenue. Ends up running out of bounds about where he picked it up. He was absolutely encased. We'll take a break here at the end of the first quarter. 13-0, DePauw leads.
Every person has a story waiting to be told. Mr. Jack comes in every Monday.
That's right.
One day I noticed his hat said he was a Korean War veteran. I asked him if he'd ever been to the Korean War Memorial.
No, I never had a chance to go.
That was the day I knew we had to do whatever it took to get him there.
Manny made it happen. I got to go to Washington, D.C. to all the memorials. The World War II Memorial, Naval Memorial, Korean War Memorial. Took all kind of pictures and everything, and it was a good trip, too.
I'm glad that I could be a part of Mr. Jack's story.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Back for the second quarter, and right off the bat, Daniel Hueri receives the pass, and a nice job picking up what I think is the first down for Rose-Hulman of the game. They'll move the sticks, and that's what Rose-Hulman needs to do. Get the ball into space, get it to your best players.
Yeah, I think what I really liked about that, Daniel Hueri, you could see on that punt return, I think he was starting to feel some pressure. Like, I'm the All-American here. I'm the one that's got to make a super play. And that was just get the ball, get an easy completion, and see what you can get.
Robertson hit, and that's going to be ruled an incomplete pass, and rightfully so. His arm was going forward and got rattled out as he was throwing the pass. Nice job, though, by DePauw to break the pocket and figure out a way to get to Robertson for really the first time in this game.
Yeah, not really even a pocket. It was just a matter of
a random assemblage of people in the backfield.
Yes, absolutely. And I think Robertson's going to look back at that and realize you've got to throw the ball a little sooner. I think you've got offensive line obviously has to do a better job of blocking, but he left his offensive line out to dry a little bit there too.
Brevin Good, one of the players that's been tormenting this Rose-Hulman line so far, both this year and last year. Here's a fake on the handoff and a pass to Hueri, and he'll get immediately tackled. He was essentially triple teamed out there in the flat. Gain of about 3. It'll be 3rd and 7.
Yeah, this comes back to the same thing I'm seeing. Rose-Hulman just feels like they're pressing a little bit, like they're just trying to do everything about a step too fast.
Well, part of that is DePauw really hurrying them up as they've been everywhere all game. 3rd down and 6, the official call, and there's a quick pass, and a first down completion to Grant Ruperta. They end up going to the running back, coming out of the backfield. And that's kind of what you're going to need to do if you're Rose-Hulman, as you don't have enough time to make longer throws.
Right. I think the better play there is make sure that you're finding probably not even your primary weapon. You're finding your number 2, number 3 guy, but you've got to move through the progressions quickly.
Robertson going to swing this out, and almost a backwards pass to Hueri, and he manages to bounce off a tackler, and then he's pulled down out of bounds after about a 2-yard gain.
Nice job by the DePauw defense there, sticking with him because he bounced off that, but Aiden Bake makes the tackle. Or actually, I'm sorry, that was looks like Luke Pacelli. That's DePauw's got a couple of double numbers on their roster as well.
Motion, fake handoff, and now Robertson going to throw it out and completed. An excellent catch there by number 13, Chase Wilkinson. Not the greatest throw, but he made the most of it.
Right, that was one. Robertson actually had more time than I think he thought he did. It's just a matter of he's been feeling that pressure, and he threw that one off his back foot even with no one around him. It worked for completion, and that's all they needed.
First time in DePauw territory, and here's another completion as they are going to Daniel Hueri about every other play, and for good measure, as he picks up 7 yards there, it'll be 2nd and 3.
I think that shows how dangerous he can be, because that was pretty well defended by DePauw, to be honest. They were double teaming him, and when you're double teaming the receiver and doing about as well as you can, and he picks up 7, you'll take that as an offense.
Fake the handoff back to Wary. He catches it and will get tackled just short of the first down. It's important to remember, regardless of what's happened in the first quarter of this game, this Rose-Hulman offense averaged almost 40 points a game last year. This is not a rollover offense.
No, and you're starting to see where they can be successful. Is they've just got so many guys they can go to. You run out of defenders who can double team.
And a timeout on the field. We'll take one ourselves.
Calling officials cheaters or corrupt, it's not a game.
Insulting referees, it's not a game.
Threatening officials, it's not a game.
Berating young umpires, learning the ropes, it's not a game.
Violent language in the stands, it's not a game.
Verbal abuse from the sideline, it's not a game.
Screaming at a referee in the parking lot, it's not a game.
Third and 1, and the jet sweep, trying to get the yardage and picking it up. Jalen Hobbs somehow got away from the DePauw tacklers, and it's first down at the 32.
Well, I think Jalen Hobbs' first thing is he's going to ask how many DePauw defenders were actually on that play, because he ran out of the tackle of at least 4 guys and still was being pursued at the end of that, but a fantastic job of just sticking to it, getting himself forward, got the yards he needed.
Robertson rolls out and just throws that one out of bounds. 2nd down and 10. Smart play by Robertson. Did try to force something that wasn't there.
Right, and I think that part of that was play design. There was going to be one guy you look at. If the play's not there, don't force the ball. But on the flip side, I almost feel like he's starting to see some ghosts on this defensive line, because really nobody was all that close to him.
Nice sidearm pass to Wary, and he's at the 20. Leaps a defender to the 12, and you can feel the energy building for this Rose-Hulman offense.
Absolutely, and Wary is showing those All-American skills. That's 5 catches, I believe, on this drive.
Rose-Hulman with almost the perfect spot for Wary to stop, as you can still pick up a first down without having to score a touchdown. I'm sure they'd rather just score the touchdown, though, Mike. Handoff. Ruperta going to get wrapped up after about a 1-yard gain. DePauw knew what to look for on that play.
An impressive effort by their defensive line. A lot of times, and I like that play call by Rose-Hulman, because a lot of times when you've got a defense on their heels, you can get a draw play like that and essentially just blow them off the ball, because they are feeling like they're in pass protection the whole time.
Robertson looking. He'll toss this to Hobbs, and he goes into the end zone. Touchdown, Fighting Engineers.
That's a big score for Rose-Hulman, and that's what they needed. Now, if they can make this extra point, it's back within 6.
These games are never over, and if you can get your offense rolling, you're going to be right back in it. And obviously for Rose-Hulman, this could give their defense some strength, and they've now going to be coming off of a possession where they were able to force DePauw into some problems.
Absolutely, and what you saw, you can see how momentum can impact the defense both positively and negatively.
Extra point up and good. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Indiana SRN's coverage of Rose-Hulman Fighting Engineers football as Rose-Hulman scores and they get back within 6. DePauw leading 13-7 with 10:53 left here in the second quarter. I'm Galen Clavio along with Mike Petrie. Fun game so far, Mike.
Exactly what you'd like to see and exactly what Rose-Hulman wanted to see as far as a bounce back. That first quarter, it felt like at least the first 10, 12 minutes, they were just on their back foot the whole time, getting blown off the ball by DePauw, getting moved around. It was that holding penalty on DePauw when on their last drive that really seems to have swung things around.
Whitehead fields that kickoff, and he's got a lane to the 40, cuts back, and will be brought down by the last guy who could possibly have done it. I think that was Matthew Coons.
As we see the replay of the touchdown, and a fantastic job. Hobbs working in some small space. Did it on the near sideline on his jet sweep, and then on that play takes a little swing pass and able to dive and just get enough in the air.
Not what you wanted to see if you were Rose-Hulman there. You really would have liked to have seen DePauw have to take a touchback or start inside their own 20. DePauw going to start at midfield. And a little bit of a different formation as they've got, looks like the pistol here on this first handoff. Bumgarner going to pick up about 4. Nice tackle there. Looks like by Jacob Fields, perhaps. And it's going to be 2nd down and 7.
Yeah, and we see, now it's interesting to me because DePauw went pass happy and scored 2 touchdowns. They go run heavy. That last drive looked like they were chewing up some yardage. It's not like it wasn't successful, but you see the downside to that is it just takes so many more plays, and that leaves room for a mistake.
McCahill will hand off to Bumgarner again, and he will easily pick up first down yardage. Finally brought down deep in the backfield defensively there for Rose-Hulman. That was Cheku Sau in position to make that tackle, but 2 plays and already inside the 40 for DePauw.
A big drive already, and you're just seeing bigger chunks coming up for this DePauw offense. Baumgartner has a great burst, and he doesn't force things. He doesn't try to find a hole that's not there, but once that hole opens up, he is through it and into the defensive secondary as fast as he can.
Another handoff to Baumgartner, who has been an absolute workhorse so far for DePauw. He'll pick up 7. It'll be 2nd down and 3.
Well, he did get most of the first quarter off.
Yeah. I'm impressed with how many times he's carried the ball thus far. He's going off the field now, deservedly so.
Absolutely.
So it'll be Whitehead in the backfield along with McCahill. It's been mostly a running attack thus far, except when DePauw's needed to score.
Yeah.
And then they go to the air.
They got big plays through the air on their first 2 drives. That last drive, they just got knocked so far off schedule, they were unable to get anything really going after that penalty.
Fake sweep and wide open. That catch is made by Whitehead, who was coming around off of that sweep, and it'll be first down at the 11-yard line here for DePauw. It was a really nicely designed play.
I have a feeling the Rose-Hulman defensive meetings tomorrow are not going to be very happy. There have been a lot of plays where not one receiver, multiple receivers have giant patches of green turf all around them.
To give DePauw credit, though, we talked about how good this offense is, how many skilled position players they had coming in that we thought could do something. Hand off to Whitehead. He'll cut back and get all the way down to the 5. So it'll be 2nd down from there.
You're always much more positive than I am. I'm the cynic of the two. But
when did that start, Mike?
Whitehead does a great job of cutting up. He was able to find a hole on a cutback there, and again, a lot of times Rose-Hulman feels like they've plugged the initial hole, are forcing adaptations by DePauw, but DePauw has been equal to the task.
High snap, but handled by McCahill. Baumgartner gets his legs cut out by Adam Field, the free safety. It'll be a 3rd down now.
And a big third down opportunity here for Rose-Hulman, because you've got to figure inside the 5, DePauw's going to go for it. So you're looking at 3rd and 4th down. If you can get a stop for Rose-Hulman, you've given up the 50 yards. You kind of had some momentum going in your direction. This would be a great time to claim things again. Claim things back for your defense.
Dominic Sabol in on the defensive line as Rose-Hulman trying to crowd things. Bad snap. McCahill picks it up. He'll run it in and not into the end zone, but he'll pick up a first down as he's called down at about the 1 foot line.
My goodness, a great job by McCahill not to panic there. A high snap. He just batted it into the air, almost like he was passing it to himself, because he knocks it in the air, goes forward, and continues with the ball. Kind of caught himself in stride.
A power backfield formation here for DePauw as they've got a fullback and Bumgardner will plow into the line, and a touchdown for the Tigers.
And a great drive by DePauw. Settles things down on their sideline and puts them back up by 2 scores.
That felt inevitable as DePauw was just ripping off huge chunks of yardage throughout that entire drive. And got to be disappointing for Rose-Hulman. They get that stop, they get the touchdown, you're thinking you're back in it. DePauw's like, not so fast, my friend.
Absolutely. I think that what you have defensively is too many times you're kind of trying to fix whatever happened on the last play. You're trying to stop that. And Rose-Hulman really struggled there.
We'll be back right after this. Back here at Cook Field in Terre Haute, Indiana, as Rose-Hulman trails DePauw 20-7. Just a reminder, folks, that we're sponsored in part on this broadcast by Piper Logistics. From warehousing to transportation and everything in between, we do it all. 3 services with 1 solution. Contact them at 317-396-1023. Again, 317-396-1023. So DePauw set to kick off. And Rose-Hulman got some things going offensively on that last drive that they can likely replicate. They've got to continue to keep their heads in the game here as there's still plenty of time left, 6:43 left in the second quarter.
Absolutely, and the big key is you're not going to make up the entire 13 points in one play. You can't press yourself too much. You just got to make the plays that are available.
Short kick and the long way around being taken here by Rose-Hulman's number 19, Eli Silva. And he is driven out. Nice return, gets it up to the 25-yard line.
Yeah, they'll have good field position on that. The short kickoffs, a lot of times, that just gives your kickoff coverage enough time to get down. That time probably led to a little over pursuit as he was able to sneak around the edge.
Eli Silva, Jr., and you can see the touchdown replay there is just really no chance for that Rose-Hulman defensive line. That was a really power formation DePauw delivered. Hobbs on the catch here on first down to pick up a few. Jalen Hobbs last year, 44 receptions for 9 touchdowns. You can see another angle on that touchdown by the Tigers. But Hobbs and Wary both have looked really good in this game so far on the ends.
Yeah, the last drive in particular.
Wary almost dropped it. He ends up keeping it and driven out of bounds, and a flag is thrown, and I think they're going to get kind of a late hit continuation here on DePauw as they just didn't stop tackling him.
A tough flag if that ends up being the call. I think it's the right call. The whistles had clearly blown. He had clearly lost his forward momentum, but I think as a defender, it's just ingrained in you. You don't stop until you've got a guy either out of bounds or on the ground, and he just did not stop there. Even you do have to keep your head about you, though.
Sure enough, a dead ball personal foul, and that's a big gift for Rose-Hulman, as that's going to get them up to about the 40-yard line. Well, actually, a little bit further than that, all the way up to the 45, as they're going to, I guess, say it was at the spot of where the catch was and the forward progress was stopped. Robertson hands off, and a nice job sniffing that one out as Jay Smith gets tackled as he enters the line of scrimmage.
DePauw's run defense has really been impressive so far today. I think that I was going to say before the penalty was drawn, where he would have been better off just dropping the ball, but as it turns out, the extra effort got an extra 15 yards.
Robertson with a nice pass and caught by Hueri, and he will pick up another 10 afterwards down to the 33-yard line. See, Mike, that's why you never give up.
That's right. That was a fantastic route, and that was one Hueri knew it was coming to his back shoulder. Even though the throw went into the body of the DePauw defender, number 43 on that was Brevin Guide. Brevin Guide didn't know that was coming and didn't have his head up, so Hueri was able to just take it out of his body, and that was what led to the extra yards.
Couple of yard loss there by Hueri as he got sniffed out there on that screenish play by Rose-Hulman. So it'll be second down and 13. A lot of 4 wide receiver sets from both teams. It'll be Hobbs on this reception, and he'll pick up the yardage that was lost and a few more beyond that. Rose-Hulman down to the 30 for a 3rd down and 7.
And 3rd and 7, that's pretty big to get yourself back on schedule, because you figure at this point you're probably looking at 4-down territory anyway. Get 3-4 yards at a chunk, and you can get yourself another 1st down. You can just reset.
Fake handoff, and airing it out down the field and overthrown as he was trying to hit, looked like number 87 there that was intended to be on the end of that pass. That's Ben Klein, the tight end out of El Paso, Illinois. So a big 4th down call here, but a flag is in the backfield.
See what that call is, if it was a roughing the passer. The penalties are really the only thing that have hit DePauw, and that is
indeed a roughing the passer call on DePauw, so they have undone themselves again in this one, and Rose-Hulman going to take advantage, and it'll be 1st down for the Fighting Engineers at the 15-yard line.
30 yards on a drive, that cannot make the coaching staff from DePauw very happy. Just that one is just you're hitting too late, and I can be very difficult to hold up, but that's what you've got to do.
Robertson quick out to Hobbs, and it is caught. Nice 5-yard or so pattern there. It'll be a 2nd and 6 actually.
When you can pick up this 4-5 yards at a pop, and really it's almost like a free completion there, it's really hard to stop this offense, and it sets you up for the bigger plays down the field.
Hueri out here in space, and he will stutter step and run all the way down to about the 4. That'll be another 1st down. It'll be 1st and goal, Rose-Hulman, with 3:57 left in the 1st half.
Great job blocking by Chase Wilkinson on the edge there. Gave Hueri all the room in the world to run, and Hueri was about 1 step, if he had been able to cut inside, would have been able to dance into the end zone.
Hueri in the slot. Now he'll come in motion. Robertson rolls out. He'll set his feet. Almost intercepted, but off the hands of the DePauw defender. That was number 3, Matthew Coons. That should have been picked off.
Honestly, Robertson is lucky. That looked like it was a timing pattern. He was expecting Hueri to be there, but he's lucky that he wasn't, because I think that's what he threw it too high, and Coons unable to bring down the ball. I think if Hueri's in the area, there's probably another DePauw defender, and that ball probably does get picked.
Hobbs in single coverage on the near side. Fake. No, a handoff, and after about a 1-yard gain brought down there, that was Jay Smith for Rose-Hulman. So it'll be 3rd and goal from the 3. You want to get some points here if you're Rose-Hulman. You'd like the touchdown, but you might take the field goal if you had to.
If you have to, but I don't want to have to make that decision. I think, honestly, if they get any yardage on this play, of course, if they don't get into the end zone, I imagine they are going for it on 4th.
Third down throw from Robertson in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Fighting Engineers. It's Jalen Hobbs again, his second touchdown of the game.
Great job catching that by Hobbs. He went to the ground with it, though. I thought they might mark the ball short because he came in. His feet were in the end zone, but as he brought the ball in, and we'll see it on the replay in a minute after the extra point.
Extra point coming here for Rose-Hulman, and an important one as they can draw back within 6. Of course, DePauw missed an extra point earlier on in the game. This one up and good, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to IndianaSRN's coverage of Rose-Hulman Fighting Engineers football. I'm Galen Clavio along with Mike Petrie. We're here at Cook Stadium in Terre Haute. A very competitive game so far. DePauw has been ahead the whole game, but Rose-Hulman showing a lot of fight here in this second quarter.
I think it's really important for the Fighting Engineers. They've got to get off the field defensively. You can't give up. You've done a great job of fighting back into this game. You can't give up a score before halftime.
Kick is out of bounds. Well, that's not ideal if you're Rose-Hulman, as that was nowhere close to landing inbounds. It flies out at the 15, and that'll be really good field position for DePauw. Again, we just saw the replay there on that touchdown, and what you were talking about, Mike, it was close, but a really good design on that play by Rose-Hulman and Jeff Sokol, the coach. As everybody expected him to go to the back corner of the end zone. He ends up cutting his route back, and that was what gave him the space.
Yeah, he gets just enough space, and a good ball from Robertson gets him the ball in the perfect position away from any defenders.
So DePauw going to break and come out here for this first possession. Just a reminder that this broadcast presented in part by Tam's Sweet and Savory Cafe. Great food for breakfast and lunch, plus delicious baked goods. Check them out on 6427 Oak Landon Road. Daily specials open 8 to 2, Tuesday through Sunday.
Right down the street from me.
There you go. McCahill going to air this one out on first down, and a nice catch pulled in by Robbie Ballantyne. And a first down for DePauw at about the 34-yard line of Rose-Hulman. Mike, that is not what the doctor ordered for the Fighting Engineers.
Absolutely not. What a fantastic catch, though, by Ballantyne.
Yeah. Well, great throw by McCahill as well.
Yeah, put it in the perfect spot.
So 1st and 10, and McCahill going to get the call from the sideline. Robbie Ballantyne, we haven't talked about a whole lot in this game, but 30 receptions last year was a pretty big part of this offense.
Yeah, you can see the strengths that he brings, a big-bodied wide receiver, and can't really jam him at the line.
Another bad snap. McCahill pulled it down again, and he will run out of bounds and pick up about 3. We've talked about Nathan McCahill's passing ability, but his ability to keep those bad snaps from flying over his head, he deserves some hazard pay for that, if nothing else.
Absolutely. He's the center's best friend right now, because if he drops any of those bad snaps, that looks like it's much worse on the center's end, and he's really been able to center out a couple of times.
Clock continuing to run, almost to 2 minutes here in the first half. Rose-Hulman trying to keep DePauw out of the end zone. And a screen, and Whitehead couldn't pull that one down. Not the best throw there by McCahill, but a good job by Rose-Hulman with penetration.
It was penetration. It forced the throw up to be a little bit high, and it was behind Whitehead. And Whitehead in all honesty, started trying to turn and go upfield before he had the ball, which that's the cardinal sin as the receiver there.
Critical third down for both of these teams as DePauw trying to finish off this half strong. McCahill surveys the defense. Pressured and hit and intercepted. Picked off by Rose-Hulman and still going. Number 3, that is Adam Field, the free safety, and now a flag comes in late, a couple of flags late. But well after the interception's going to count. That's a huge play for Rose-Hulman defensively.
It absolutely is, and I think that's going to be 15 more yards.
Looked like a ball was tipped. I didn't see who tipped it at the line, but Field, Johnny on the spot. And we'll see both flags that have been thrown here after this play are at about the DePauw 48, 47-yard line.
All of the skirmishes were on the far sideline, but we'll see if those offset or what those calls are.
So we'll see what the official calls here. We have a dead ball. 15-yard penalty, and so I think that's actually going on Rose-Hulman. So there was some kind of unsportsmanlike or personal foul that occurred. It's going to march the ball back to the 31. That's still yardage ahead of where Rose-Hulman would have got it if it had just been at the spot of the interception. So I think they'll take that.
They will take that, but I think as a coaching staff, that's got to frustrate you a little bit because you had the ball at the 50, a chance really at getting – you've got less than 2 minutes. That's certainly not impossible, but you don't need to add any extra hills to climb here in this first half. You're in a position where you could, after a terrible first quarter, be back and be in front at the halftime gun.
Ruperta on the handoff there gains very little, maybe a yard. Miguel Robertson on the game, 18 of 24 for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's been most of the offense. I mean, obviously, has gotten the ball to his receivers. Daniel Hueri, 10 receptions, 65 yards so far for Rose-Hulman. And they got to be careful here. You don't want to give DePauw the ball back, but you also want to try to make a game effort to score. Second down, nice toss here, and close to first down yardage. That is Chase Wilkinson, and a really good play design there by Rose-Hulman.
We had mentioned in the first quarter, first 20 minutes, how many times DePauw was running in wide open spaces. That time Wilkinson had all sorts of room around him.
Handoff, and Ruperta has some running room, and he will rumble for another first down into Tigers territory.
And a quick timeout called by Sakala, as we're going to see the replay here. That was Wilkinson's run, and a fantastic job, pitch and catch. But the way the route worked out, he had all the room in the world.
Just a reminder, our broadcast here on IndianaSRN is brought to you in part by Wheeler Mission Thrift Store. Bargain hunters, treasure seekers, we have a place for you. Visit Wheeler Mission Thrift Store at 8640 East 96th Street in Fishers, Indiana, and they'd like to thank you for helping them with their mission. Also, a reminder that this broadcast is brought to you in part by Boilermaker Local 374. Learn how they can hire you. Contact them today at 219-845-1065. International Brotherhood of Boilermakers, Iron Shipbuilders, Blacksmiths, and Helpers. Well, Mike, 59 seconds left. The sun has pretty much set. We've got a little bit of light on the horizon here at Cook Field. This Rose-Hulman crowd and definitely the Rose-Hulman team on the sidelines, you can feel the energy really starting to pump up as they're starting to believe that they could go into halftime with a lead here.
Absolutely. A slow start for this team, but they have weathered that. They got themselves back on the right side of things, and I think it was a smart play by the coaching staff waiting until you were across the 50 before calling that timeout, really going into the 2-minute offense. Like you had said, what you don't want to do is run 3 plays very quickly, punt the ball back to DePauw, and you give the Tigers a chance to go further ahead. Made sure they were on the right side of the 50 before they really go into their hurry-up offense.
Little 4-yard out to Jalen Hobbs on that first down play. Gave him some room to run. Now here's a pass down the sideline. Caught! Touchdown! Fighting Engineers! Chase Wilkinson gets free on the edge. And just like that, it's a tie game with a chance for Rose-Hulman to take the lead.
And Chase Wilkinson has been the Johnny on the spot on this drive. 2 big catches. As I said, you run out of guys that you can double team on the defensive side of things, as Wilkinson does a great job on that fly pattern and hit right in stride. A perfect pass from Robertson.
Wilkinson's like, I just caught a touchdown pass and now I got to hold for the extra point. So he's down on his knee, hoping to give Rose-Hulman the lead here. Kick is up. Kick is good. We'll be back right after this.
You're good at making big announcements. We're good at your insurance.
Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, online, over the phone, or in person, and stop knocking on wood.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Cook Stadium, Division III football, Rose-Hulman and DePauw, the Fighting Engineers leading 21-20 with 49 seconds left in the first half here on IndianaSRN. Good to have you folks joining us. Rose-Hulman coming back from a 13-0 deficit. Now the goal is to try to keep DePauw from taking the lead again here as the first half comes to a close. Here's Caden Whitehead with the kickoff return, and he's got room again down the sideline to the 45-yard line and driven out there. Excellent intervention by the kicker as we got a replay on the touchdown here, Mike.
Yeah, a nice rainbow there by Robertson, and again, he hits Wilkinson perfectly in stride. Pretty good coverage by DePauw there. It just not much you can do when the ball is put in that perfect position.
Yeah, and you can see a nice job there by Chase Wilkinson to kind of cheat his body out, give himself a little extra separation. And to be fair, he probably didn't need to because the defender was completely turned around. That was an awesome throw by Miguel Robertson.
The defender there, I think Jaden Miller, did a good job coming in, tried to punch it out at the last second.
McCahill trying to match him, and he will have a ball hit the receiver in the hands. Jalen Smith had daylight in front of him, but he couldn't pull in the rock. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
And I think that was Wyatt Bell. We're going to give him credit on that. Let's look at this replay as Bell gets in at the last second and able to punch the ball out. We were talking Jaden Miller was trying to do that on the opposite side. That time Wyatt Bell, successful, knocks it out.
Tigers, 2nd and 10. Bumgarner in the backfield, and McCahill will drop back. Now here's going to be a little dump-off pass. Nice play to Bumgarner. He'll get shoved out of bounds, and it'll be 3rd and about 3.
Good pursuit by Rose-Hulman there. They're playing deep. They're avoiding the long passes, but a good job by this defense coming up in support, limits that to a, no, they say he got enough for the first down. I was surprised.
Oh.
I thought he got knocked out short, but.
It's also possible that the sticks were not in the right position initially. So, well, now a timeout as the head linesman's going to come in.
Maybe he thinks that too. Of course, that's on the far sideline, and we can't see where he stepped. So 30 seconds left in this half.
And DePauw with some timeouts remaining. They've got 2 left to go, and so they're going to reset the play clock. Some confusion. Well, now they are going to bring the sticks back, so I think we were right, Mike. It was not a first down. I feel vindicated somehow.
Absolutely. So vengeance is mine.
Big difference here, though. Instead of 1st and 10, it's 3rd and 3, and DePauw going to need to do something offensively here.
I think if I'm DePauw, I run that same play, pick up your 5 yards, and get out of bounds.
McCahill drops back in the pocket, and he's got his man open on the sideline. That's the tight end, Gabe Quigley, who's been a big part of the offense so far, and a first down with 25 seconds remaining.
or pick up 15 yards, get out of bounds.
This is why Mike is not the offensive coordinator.
There are a lot of reasons in front of this, but yes, absolutely. Quigley has done a good job this first half, making himself available. He ran a great route there, got his defender on the back heel, and then turned to the outside, made a big body, big target for his
Nice job on the pass breakup there. That was number 7, Cameron Dorsey. He read that all the way, got his hand in, and knocked McCahill's pass harmlessly away.
Probably the first bad decision on McCahill's part, because that was a pass that it wasn't going anywhere. You're throwing it in the middle of the field, so you're going to have to burn a timeout. And best case scenario, you picked up maybe 10 yards. Not sure that would have been advantageous for DePauw. Maybe the incomplete ends up working out better.
McCahill scrambles as he lost his pocket and stays on his feet, manages to get down to the 29-yard line, and a timeout DePauw with 14 seconds remaining. So an interesting spot here for DePauw. You've got one timeout left. It's 3rd and 5 with 14 seconds to play. Field goal kicking at this level is always an adventuresome proposition, I would say. So you probably are a little far out for a legitimate field goal attempt at this point.
Yeah, I think the trick to it is you've either got to pick up the full 5 yards, or you're going to the end zone for the last play. So I think this next play call, you've got to get the ball, you've got to throw the ball past the 5-yard mark, not expect a receiver to pick it up for you, or you're going to, because if you don't get it, if you picked up 3 or 4 yards, it's as good as picking up 0, because you're going to go to the end zone for the last play. I think if you pick up the 5 yards, maybe then you try maybe one more short pass. You've still got your timeout. You can still do whatever you need to do then.
Just a reminder that here on Indiana SRN, we're sponsored in part by Morales Group, building better futures one story at a time. With locations in Indianapolis, Zionsville, Anderson, Columbus, and Lafayette. You can contact them at 317-472-7600. Big 3rd and 5 here for DePauw as Rose-Hulman tries to dig in. McCahill will toss it, and that was incomplete as it bounced out of Ballantyne's hands and hit the turf. And it'll be a 4th down, a really nice defensive stand there by Rose-Hulman.
Yeah, the last 3 plays by Rose-Hulman have honestly been among their best of the first half. They've done a great job. Now they've got to finish it out, because you've got 4th and 5 at the 8. I think here you've got probably 3 guys going to the end zone. No, they're going to go ahead and kick. Interesting.
So field goal attempt coming, and this will be a relatively long one, as this is going to be spotted at the 37, so a 47-yard field goal attempt. Kick is up, and that's going to be short and wide, and Rose-Hulman holds off DePauw, and there's 3 seconds left in this first half of play, Mike.
Yeah, 3 seconds is certainly enough time to cause some chaos here and see what you can pull up.
Rose-Hulman has to feel good right now. I mean, 21-20, as unconvincing as they looked offensively and defensively in that first quarter, they turned it around completely in this second quarter. And frankly, at this point, DePauw is the team that looks like they're on their heels a bit.
Absolutely. Honestly, it was 13-0. It felt bigger. It felt like a much bigger deficit, and it was the holding penalty against DePauw that really just knocked them off schedule. And since that point, it's been a much bigger. It's been all Rose-Hulman.
Rose-Hulman takes the knee, and that will end the first half of play. Again, the score here: 21-20. Rose-Hulman over DePauw. Mike, a couple of things that really stood out in that first half. Rose-Hulman's passing attack really adapted after the first few drives and figured out ways to get the ball into space and to get it to the players that could make things happen. And, of course, Daniel Hueri and Jalen Hobbs really just made a lot of things happen out there.
They made a lot of things happen. They forced the DePauw defense to react to them, and then Chase Wilkinson ends up being the leading receiver for this team because he's got the big plays. And he gets that big touchdown reception at the end of towards the end of the half there that put Rose-Hulman in the lead.
Miguel Robertson, 21 of 27 in that first half, 77.8 completion percentage. You'll take that any day of the week. And look, it hasn't been a bad outing for Nathan McCahill so far, although not as much as he would like. Only 53% completion percentage, 7 for 13, 180 yards, does have the 2 touchdowns. Gabe Quigley with one of those, Jalen Smith with the other. At this point, this is anybody's game and a really exciting way to start this 2023 campaign off.
Fantastic. And we look at some of the scoring here, and it was big plays early on for this DePauw offense. A huge reception there by Quigley. Wide open.
He would still be running if there wasn't an end zone to contain him there. But no, an excellent play as he was wide open with that. And, we as we continue on with some of these plays, what got Rose-Hulman back into the game was this toss to Hobbs at a really nicely designed play coming all the way across on that pattern, and DePauw just lost contain on him. They couldn't stay in front of him.
Yeah, what really throws me, and I'd love to know what went into the decision-making, DePauw was being so effective throwing the ball in that first quarter, they just went completely away from the passing game, and then by the time it's come back and we see a nice throw to the short corner here and a fantastic grab by the
Mike's still not convinced that was a touchdown, but it was called, so it counts. But no, you make a good point. Really, the turning point in this game was that screen pass that got batted up, and then that led to the interception. And this was the play that happened after the interception. Chase Wilkinson, a beautiful catch off an even more beautiful throw, and that would give Rose-Hulman the lead after they kicked the point after. And, you look at both of these teams, I think it's going to be interesting with DePauw. They clearly want to run the ball more than they want to pass the ball. And I would be concerned if that was the plan for DePauw moving into the second half, because Rose-Hulman has now shown that they know where to get the ball, especially in the flats and maybe in that 5 to 7 intermediate zone. They're able to move the ball very quickly, and I think Robertson, after a little bit of consternation and being rushed by the defense, has figured out the timing of things.
Yeah, early on we talked Rose-Hulman was solving for whatever the last play was. Now it's DePauw's defense that they are attacking whatever the last offensive play was, and with that, Rose-Hulman has essentially been a step ahead here these last 2 drives. Now, DePauw, they've just got to figure out ways to get bigger chunks of yardage. Their offense, it's not bad when they're running the ball, but you've got to complement that with some big play ability.
So we're going to take a break and come back with more. We've got a special halftime guest, and we've got some more statistical looks at what's happened in this game. For Mike Petrie, I'm Galen Clavio. This is Indiana SRN. Rose-Hulman leads 21-20. We'll be back after this.
Your hauling or moving project has arrived, and College Hunks Hauling, Junk, and Moving has you covered. Honest. Uniformed. Nice. Knowledgeable. Service. College Hunks Hauling, Junk, and Moving.
Can't get to a computer? Then we've got you covered. Just go to the IndianaSRN app and stay up to date with all of your favorite teams. You can watch live coverage or relive the experience with our on-demand service.
Myers, Vice President of IndianaSRN. Thanks for joining us. Do you know IndianaSRN broadcasts 350 games a year? All sorts of sports? Yeah, we do. Hard to believe, isn't it? IndianaSRN loves to put student athletes first on our website. If you're a business out there, we probably could help you too. Contact us at coach@indianasrn.org. Grandma from out of state thanks you. Mom and Dad who can't get to the game thanks you as well. In fact, our athletes watch the games over and over again. Our military has enjoyed the games as well. So sit back and enjoy the game. It's IndianaSRN.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium in Terre Haute, Indiana. This is IndianaSRN's coverage of Rose-Hulman Fighting Engineers football. Great game so far as Rose-Hulman leading DePauw 21-20. And here at halftime, we're joined by a special guest, the new head women's basketball coach for Rose-Hulman, DePauw. Coach, great to have you here. How you doing so far?
I'm excellent. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be on today. We actually we have a recruit here with us today, so this is a great environment, a great game for her to be able to watch. We're excited.
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere, and for people who haven't been to Division III football, sometimes you're like, well, it couldn't match the intensity of this or that, but it is energetic, it's palpable, and we've got a heck of a football game out here. So let's talk a little bit about your journey to Rose-Hulman. Tell the audience where you were at before and how you got on this pathway to being a basketball coach.
Well, basketball has always been in my blood. I started out as a player, obviously, at the high school level. Kind of knew I wasn't going to play at the collegiate level, but my uncle was a college basketball coach, so he asked me to come be a student manager, and that's kind of how I got my start in coaching overall. Started out as a student manager at Kentucky State University, a small Division II school. Did that, and then I switched over to women's basketball after I was on the men's side. Became a graduate assistant at the University of Louisville. Did that for 2 years, and I bumped up to a video coordinator. Then I bumped up to a special assistant to the head coach, and then went to go be an assistant coach at Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia with the Thundering Herd. Did that for 3 seasons, and then stepped away from college coaching for about 6 years, started a basketball training business, became an educator, me and my wife. My wife's actually going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame at Assumption University, where she played college basketball. So I like to tell people she's the player and I'm the coach.
Absolutely.
But most recently, I was an assistant coach at University of Cincinnati prior to taking a job at Rose.
Excellent. And, in one of your prior stops at Louisville, that was a pretty special time to be there.
Yeah, we went to 2 national championship games, 2 Final Fours, 4 Sweet 16s. I learned tons underneath Jeff Walls and that staff. Michelle Clark-Hurd, Beth Ann Orr, most of those assistant coaches are now head coaches. So just really learned about recruiting and the ins and outs, the X's and O's, what to do in different situations. So shout out to Jeff Walls and that staff.
So you're here at Rose-Hulman. What is it about the Rose-Hulman job and coaching college ball in Indiana that's special?
Well, when I got the call about Rose-Hulman, I started doing some research, and I looked around and I asked a couple people, and everybody I talked to was like, whoa, Rose-Hulman, like that's prestigious. That's the #1 engineering school in the country. So that jumped out to me, and I've always been a player's coach. I want to see the players succeed in the classroom as well as on the basketball court. So I thought this would be a great environment for that, with academics being first and basketball kind of being the second thing. I think that, we'll be able to have a competitive team this year and get out there and show some people what we got coming back. We got some incoming freshmen that are really nice. We bring in 6 new players. So I'm excited about the present and the future.
You've obviously been at the Division I level at Cincinnati and Louisville, and you've been at the Division II level. What's the recruiting like at a Division III school? How does it different? What are the challenges, but then what are the opportunities as well?
I think some of the challenges come about when you talk about the financial side of it. Obviously we're not being able to offer athletic scholarships, but we do have academic scholarships. And I think that the opportunity to recruit different type of players, we're recruiting players where you may not have to deal with as much off the court when it comes to recruiting the type of players that we have. But when it boils down to it, recruiting's recruiting. And I think that, being able to show them a good time when they're on a visit, being able to have that personal relationship with them where they feel like they can come talk to you about anything on or off the court. I think that those things are huge, and those things don't change no matter what division you're in. But there's plenty of opportunities here. I think that this is a golden opportunity, so I'm excited about it.
One last question for you. What should fans expect to see when Rose-Hulman's on the floor? What's your coaching style? How do you like to play?
I think they should look to see some competitive basketball. I think they should look to see us pushing the ball on the break, getting after it, switching up defenses, and coming out and just giving the other team nightmares. I think we're going to apply pressure on the offensive side as well as on the defensive side.
That sounds exciting, and we're looking forward to seeing you and your team out on the floor this year. Coach DePauw, welcome to Rose-Hulman. Congratulations and good luck moving forward.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And we'll be back with more after this break. This is IndianaSRN's coverage of Rose-Hulman Fighting Engineers football.
Every person has a story waiting to be told. Mr. Jack comes in every Monday.
That's right.
One day I noticed his hat said he was a Korean War veteran. I asked him if he'd ever been to the Korean War Memorial.
No, I never had a chance to go.
That was the day I knew we had to do whatever it took to get him there.
Manny made it happen. I got to go to Washington, D.C. to all the memorials. The World War II Memorial, Naval Memorial, Korean War Memorial. Took all kind of pictures and everything, and it was a good trip, too.
I'm glad that I could be a part of Mr. Jack's story.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Every person has a story waiting to be told. Mr. Jack comes in every Monday.
That's right.
One day I noticed his hat said he was a Korean War veteran. I asked him if he'd ever been to the Korean War Memorial.
No, I never had a chance to go.
That was the day I knew we had to do whatever it took to get him there.
Manny made it happen. I got to go to Washington, D.C. to all the memorials. The World War II Memorial, Naval Memorial, Korean War Memorial. Took all kind of pictures and everything, and it was a good trip, too.
I'm glad that I could be a part of Mr. Jack's story.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium in Terre Haute, Indiana. I'm Galen Clavio along with Mike Petrie here on IndianaSRN as Rose-Hulman leads DePauw 21-20. And Mike, you look at the statistics from that first half, and honestly, a lot of the half can be summed up in what happened with the quarterbacks over the course of the last part of the half. In that second quarter, Miguel Robertson completed 13 of his last 16 passes, including 3 touchdowns, whereas Nathan McCahill only completed 2 out of his last 7 and had an interception thrown in there for good measure.
And honestly, I defy you to find those 3 incompletions from Miguel Robertson. He got on a roll. Serious offensive firepower displayed by this fantastic Rose-Hulman team. And kind of as we expected, they got a little bit of a sleepy start, but have recovered. And as we look out, we see the kickers getting themselves used to the conditions, measuring essentially what has happened. Now we see the lights are turned on. Sun is pretty much fully set, and they're getting the feel of that. I have a feeling the kickers are going to come into play here. They're going to have a pretty important role in this second half.
In that first half, both teams with 13 first downs. DePauw really did try to run the ball a lot more, 24 rushing attempts compared to only 11 for Rose-Hulman. But both teams rushed the ball at about the same level of success, 3.9 yards per carry for DePauw, only 3.5 for Rose-Hulman. It was in the passing game that the Fightin' Engineers really made hay. 21 receptions to only 7 for DePauw, and when you look at the way that fit in, it essentially replaced the running game for Rose-Hulman, and sometimes that's the way you have to play football in this day and age.
I was going to say, it brings you back to the old run and shoot days where the short passing game essentially acts as an extension of your running game, and quarterbacks like it because it makes their stats look that much better, but it's a running play, and a lot of times they were able to get some serious success out of that. And the more that they forced the DePauw Tigers defense to come up and cheat to take away those short passes, the more the larger chunk plays became available.
Some other key stats from that first half: 4 penalties for 50 yards for DePauw. We saw those two 15-yarders that essentially breathed some life into Rose-Hulman's offensive attack when it looked like it wasn't going to be. Only 1 turnover in that first half. Of course, that was that interception that Rose-Hulman was able to pick up. DePauw dominated time of possession. 5 minutes more possession than Rose-Hulman had, but Rose-Hulman, at the end of it all, really seemed to make more out of the time that they had.
Yeah, a lot of that came from, there were 2 long drives that DePauw had. One was successful, but it was almost completely running the ball. The first time that they tried to completely run the ball, they got to about the 40-yard line, got held back by a holding penalty, and then eventually had to punt. But they took up a lot of time with that. I just don't know if they can play that conservatively here in the second half, because I think Rose-Hulman's going to keep the foot on the gas pedal. You're going to have to score some points. The one advantage, of course, if you keep it on the ground, is you keep it out of their hands. But
we'll come back with our final wrap-up of the halftime and the beginning of the second half here on IndianaSRN.
Every person has a story waiting to be told. Mr. Jack comes in every Monday.
Yeah, that's right.
One day I noticed his hat said he was a Korean War veteran. I asked him if he'd ever been to the Korean War Memorial.
No, I never had a chance to go.
That was the day I knew we had to do whatever it took to get him there.
Manny made it happen. I got to go to Washington, D.C. to all the memorials. The World War II Memorial, Naval Memorial, Korean War Memorial. Took all kind of pictures and everything, and it was a good trip, too.
I'm glad that I could be a part of Mr. Jack's story.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium as Rose-Hulman leads DePauw 21-20. This is not the only game that will be on IndianaSRN, as we've got more action coming up next week. We've had a full slate of games today. Next week, Alma takes on Manchester. You can check that out right here on this network and also HCAC.tv. And then Aurora taking on Franklin College, also on HCAC TV. Be sure to tune in next week and every week during the football season here on this network.
Some busy Saturdays, as you would anticipate, and just some excellent D3 football being played, and we've got a great one tonight.
Let's talk a little bit about what's gone on elsewhere in Division III, as we've got a scoreboard update. One big upset that happened earlier on today. Number 23, Wisconsin River Falls, knocks off number 3, Mary Hardin Baylor. Wisconsin River Falls had that game at home and won pretty handily, 45-22. Elsewhere, number 6, St. John's, in overtime knocks off Trinity. Again, that was a game that St. John's was hosting, 34-31, the final score there. North Central in Illinois, the number 1 team in the country, easily dispatches of Roosevelt, 41-7. Mount Union, number 2 in the country, they knock off Defiance, 45-6. This DePauw squad received votes. They would have been 32nd if the poll extended all the way out. Rose-Hulman did not receive votes, but if their offense looks like this the whole season, that might change pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think what you're seeing from Rose-Hulman, defensively, they're not, I don't feel like they're going to dominate a lot of teams, but they've just got to be enough to provide enough of an impediment. And what's going to happen is if your offense can get you on the board early on, you start forcing the opponent into pressing themselves. And I think that that's what we saw with DePauw. They were pressing a little bit, tried a little too hard, and that led to the big mistake, the interception that gave Rose-Hulman a chance to take the lead at half.
The sun has not entirely set, but it's real close. And if you're watching on your television screen, you can probably, it looks like it's dark already. But there is a little bit of sunlight off to our west, so that'll disappear within the next couple of minutes. The temperature really hasn't dropped that much. It was about 88 degrees at kick. It's still 82 outside. but that'll probably drop quite a bit here over the course of the next hour. And both of these teams, I think, are used to the conditions at this point. Mike, if you're Rose-Hulman, what are you trying to do on your first defensive drive here, knowing that DePauw is probably going to at least reestablish the running game in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I think that's what you've got to be prepared for. You've got to be able to stuff the middle. The running plays that have been successful from DePauw they're not running east and west. They're running between the tackles. And so defensive line's got to be stout. Linebackers have to be active and ready for it. And you just have to be careful. You can't cheat too much with the safeties coming up into the box.
Kind of a short kick there, bounces, and Baumgartner are able to pick it up on the bounce and get it all the way out past the 40-yard line. If there has been an Achilles heel thus far for Rose-Hulman, it's been their kicking game, as they are really struggling. We have an injury down on the field right now.
It looks like Christian Meyer, senior defensive back.
Yeah, Meyer got tangled up at the tail end of that kickoff return and came out the worse for wear, and clearly was in some distress as the DePauw player he was tangled up with immediately called to the sideline. So hopefully he's fine and he's getting attended to by the staff, and looks like they're going to bring out some additional personnel to help him off the field here.
Teammates to help him get out.
We'll take a break and come right back.
Since we're doing things so quickly, a lot of times we know that we need help. So our professors all know us by name.
Basically, everybody knows everybody here.
That one-on-one personal connection you're getting with the faculty, you don't get that a lot of places.
We're not just saying, here, go do this hard project. We are right there with them. We work with them.
The faculty are there for you.
Back here for first down and 10, and McCahill going to fake the handoff and roll to his right. He's got a man open, and he's able to complete that pass to Jalen Smith for the first down into Rose-Hulman territory. Nice pitch and catch there by DePauw.
Nice pitch and catch, nice play design. They knew we were talking at halftime about expecting DePauw to come out running the ball. They played right into that, sucked up the Rose-Hulman defenders, and then it was an easy completion there for McCahill.
McCahill needs some completions under his belt to get his confidence back after what was a difficult end to that first half, but he'll hand it off to Baumgartner here, and he's got a lane down to the 25, to the 20, and finally brought down. And DePauw, we said they were going to try to reestablish the run. That'll go a long way towards doing so.
Yeah, the complementary football. Essentially, you have your passing game opening things up for the running game. You have your running game opening things up for the passing game.
So Rose-Hulman kind of back where they were in the first quarter defensively here, but they did do a nice job adding some steel to their defensive presence on that last drive by DePauw the first half. We'll see if they can do the same here. Another handoff up the middle to Baumgartner, and he will rumble for about 9. It'll be 2nd and 1.
And one thing, once you get down into the red zone, of course, the field compresses, and really as a defense, this sounds basic, but you're playing just to play another play. You just want to force this offense to take as many chances because they're in this compressed field. That's going to lead to a chance at some turnovers. You've just got to live to fight another day.
McCahill, they're going to call this 2nd and 2. 3 wide receivers set here. McCahill brought down, and he will be shy of the first down. Nice job on the pursuit there, as that was Joseph Bueno making that tackle and able to pop right back up again. He'll come off the field and get some liquids, and a big 3rd down here once again for both teams.
A big opportunity for this Fighting Engineer defense, and it always looks so funny when the option doesn't work because, of course, the defense reacts to it, but Baumgartner, who they didn't hand it off to, had all sorts of room to run.
Antonio Barnes, the strong safety, comes in off the sideline, and here's the snap. And Whitehead was hemmed in, but he breaks loose and down to the 5.
Nice job by Whitehead, and almost got around the corner, got in to get into the end zone, but finally forced out. The play designed by Rose-Hulman, the defense run blitz, got into the backfield. They just weren't able to get Whitehead down.
It's one of those frustrating plays where you do what you want to do, and
Right.
then the individual athletic ability of the opposition foils those plans. Whitehead, with his athletic ability, back in the backfield. Again, a power running set. McCahill, end zone, broken up. What a lovely breakup by Cheku Sao, and it'll be 2nd and goal.
And he never looked back. He just knew where the ball was. He could essentially read it off the receiver's body language, and as the ball was coming in, he pokes the ball away from that receiver. A nice job.
Tigers maintain the 2-back set with the fullback in front of both the quarterback and halfback here. Hand off to Baumgartner, and he will scoot into the end zone. Touchdown, Tigers.
Finally, a rush for Baumgartner where really just everybody kind of parted the way for him, and a nice job by the DePauw offensive line. After that, it took 5-6 plays to get to that, but then it looks easy.
I'll tell you what, DePauw needed that. That was absolutely the kind of outcome you need when your offense is stalled out the way that theirs had.
Right. It would have been a disaster for the Tigers if they had completely stalled out and seen the drive end before a score.
Some flags here on the point after attempt. Let's see what's going on. Penalty on DePauw is going to drive it back. So point after attempt coming from a little bit further back. DePauw trying to stake a 6-point lead. They've already missed 1 extra point in this game so far, and we'll see what Joseph Sullivan, the kicker from out of Cincinnati, can do. Kick is up and good. No good. I spoke too soon. We'll be back right after this.
You're good at making big announcements. We're good at your insurance.
Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, online, over the phone, or in person, and stop knocking on wood.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Back here at Cook Stadium, DePauw leading 26-21. Now Rose-Hulman gets their first possession of the second half.
And we get to see if Rose-Hulman can continue the offensive lessons that it applied in that second quarter, see what they can do. Which you really, if you're Rose-Hulman, you really just can't afford to get yourself back in a hole after you did all the hard work to dig out of it at the end of that first half.
Kickoff received by Rose-Hulman. That return only up to about the 19-yard line. That was Daniel Hueri on that return. We're going to do our best with these numbers, folks. I got to tell you, the color scheme for Rose-Hulman at night, not the easiest to make out the gray on red. So we will do our best, and our apologies in advance if we get any names initially wrong here. You see the touchdown replay, and Baumgartner, when he gets ahead of steam, is Mike Allstott-like in his ability to just blow through lines.
Yeah, a good low center of gravity, and just he hits holes so hard. You feel bad for anybody who has to get in the way.
Little misconfusion there in the backfield on that first down, and Rose-Hulman struggles back to the line of scrimmage. They maybe got one additional yard, but not a great play there as Ruperta was hemmed in pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm not. You look at that, you would hate to see miscommunication on first down coming out of the locker room. Not a great sign, but that play design, DePauw, in any event, had it pretty well covered.
Robertson twists, throws, and a completion on the sideline there. That is, it's like a new face in the game, at least a new face in terms of catching the ball. Brandon Green, the senior out of Dixon, California. It'll be first down, Engineers.
And a nice play. Again, kind of a weird twist by Robertson. Not sure if that was intentional, but once he turned the right way, he had his eyes on Dixon the whole way.
If it's successful, it's intentional.
That's
first
right.
down run, and still on his feet and rumbling forward there. A nice play by Ruperta, the senior out of Sherman, Illinois, as he rumbles forward for 5 after it looked like he might lose 2 or 3.
Nice job keeping the legs churning, and a good job by the offensive line. They weren't getting necessarily a push, but they were holding their blocks enough, gave him room to run around the backside.
Handoff, and Ruperta continues to rumble forward and will get close to the first down, but it looks like about a yard short.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of running the ball as much as they are here. 3 out of the first 4 plays, when the short passing game was creating so much disaster for the DePauw defense, kind of letting them off the hook a little bit. They've been successful enough at it, so I guess I can't complain.
Third down, and Mike, they didn't listen to you again, and that's a good thing as they get the first down. Another nice run by Ruperta as they move the ball to the 47-yard line, and perhaps they're just trying to soften up the DePauw defense. They'll go quickly. Another handoff, and this one not quite as successful.
And this is what I don't like about the running game, in particular with Rose-Hulman, but it was applying to DePauw a little bit too, is that when you rely on it too much, it just limits the upside of your plays. When you get the ball out to Hueri or to the outside receivers, give them some room to run, you can break that for a 50-yard gain.
Long pass, and it is intercepted. What a nice job on that interception by number 6. That is Cortez Stoudemire, the senior out of Lebanon, and not an advisable throw there by Robertson. He had him in one-on-one coverage, but he threw it short.
Yeah, it was one. He had just decided he was going to make that throw regardless of whether the coverage was there, and he would have had a perfect throw it to the outside. One thing Wilkinson did well there, he left room to the outside, but the throw was just a little bit short, a little underthrown, and to the inside where the coverage was.
One of the things we noted about Rose-Hulman's offense in that first half was, Robertson did a lot of rolling out and throwing to his left, despite being right-handed. He throws right there, and the throw comes up short. There might be something worth noting there. So a first down for DePauw, and here's McCahill throwing to Whitehead out of the backfield, and he'll get tripped up after a few.
Again, that's one of those ones, you break it one way or the other. That was almost a disaster in the backfield, and also almost a 85-yard run.
Yeah, it is an interesting set of circumstances every time Caden Whitehead gets the ball. We've seen him almost break kickoff returns. We've seen him do well carrying the ball, catching out of the backfield. He's really been a utility knife for this DePauw offense thus far. Another high snap handled by McCahill, and there's Whitehead making some good yardage after that, and he'll pick up a first down.
And I like the versatility and the way they're able to use him. A lot of times, versatility ends up being a bad thing for a running back / wide receiver because you're sort of a backup in both roles. You don't do either one of them. And in this case, they've been able to use Whitehead successfully doing what he does best, whether it's running the ball, whether it's catching screens. He's caught a couple of passes in the normal route tree. Just get him the ball, let him find some open space.
So another first down for DePauw. McCahill throws to nobody in particular. I think a miscommunication, and that's exactly what it seems like, as we saw there one of the receivers talking to another, I think that was Quigley, trying to let Jalen Smith know that he needed to keep going on that route and not cut it across the middle. There was nobody there for that throw from McCahill.
Yeah, no, it was a good throw. I like the job by it was Ryan Schmidt, the defender for Rose-Hulman, because he essentially just walled off Jalen Smith and said, nothing to see here. Don't worry about where that ball's going.
Another high snap, but easily fielded by McCahill. That run snuffed out, and Rose-Hulman forcing a 3rd and long.
What the high snap is doing, McCahill is fielding it, but because he's having to jump to catch everything, it's throwing the timing of these handoffs off, and because of that, it's allowing Rose-Hulman. It just gives them that extra beat that they need. They're able to fill the gaps. They can see where the play is developing.
So 3rd and 7, and shotgun formation here for McCahill. Uncorks it to Ballantyne, and he'll catch and continue, and thrown out at about the 45 of DePauw. Nice pass again, and it seems like McCahill has got his mojo back.
Yeah, and a great job by Ballantyne. You can see, again, he's got this broad base where he presents a really big target for the quarterback. I'd be interested to see if they can get him going over the middle.
Excellent penetration there, and a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. That was Riley Lopian getting in and making the tackle on DePauw's running back there, Seth Menser. So it'll be 2nd and 10 once again. There's no gain, maybe a slight loss.
Yeah, they're forcing themselves to go off schedule. That's opening things up intentionally or unintentionally for the passing game. They're essentially having to throw the ball down the field because they're getting back off schedule. You'd like to be able to, again, do that by choice, not be forced to.
Motion into an empty backfield, and the toss, and almost cat behind the line of scrimmage, but a nice job of scrambling out of there by Seth Menser, and it'll be, instead of what could have been a 3rd and 12 or 13, it's going to be 3rd and 8.
Yeah, Ryan Schmidt had him in the backfield. I thought one thing he did do a good job of, though, because he was in space, he held on long enough. He was fighting through a blocker, and he held on just long enough that allowed the rest of the defense to get back to him. It kept it to a 2-3 yard gain at the maximum.
DePauw. Here's McCahill, uncorks it, and knocked out of the hands of the receiver, but a flag. Flag coming in, and that's going to be on Wyatt Bell. Looked like he had a good pass breakup, but the official behind the play saw it differently. This is going to be DPI.
Yeah, that's generally, that's the call you get on the far sideline, on the offensive team's sideline. He gets that right in front of the Rose-Hulman sideline, and maybe a little early. One thing we are seeing, Rose-Hulman's cornerbacks are challenging DePauw's receivers. Now, he was a little early there, but they are, early on you were seeing big patches of turf where essentially they were playing very soft coverage. They have come up. They are going to make DePauw really fight for it, but that's going to leave them vulnerable possibly to some passes going over their head.
And they've had some success. Adam Field had not just the interception, but had a nice pass breakup in the second quarter. You're going to take some risks on that, and it's probably at the end of it all, you hope, worth the reward. So it'll be 1st and 10 at the 39, and the Tigers run it up the middle. That's Menser, who's been getting some increasing playing time as the game's gone along. He's tackled after a gain of about 4.
And that's one of those runs, it looks, you see his head snap around, and you almost think that it's a face mask, but it was his head snapped around because the ball was trying to be pulled away from him. He does a great job of pulling his whole body around to protect the football there.
Tigers trying to extend their lead on this drive. It's 5 right now. Fake handoff, and now a deep pass from McCahill off the hands of Jalen Smith. And he has to be absolutely sick about that one, Mike.
Yeah, he did all the right things, stacked the defensive back, had about a step and a half on him, and as we see, a perfect throw hits him in the hands, and he just went. I think it may have gotten his face mask in the way as he was trying to bring it in.
That's the second time we've seen a pass like that for DePauw where it could have been a touchdown. That one definitely would have been a touchdown, but it bounces off the hand. So Rose-Hulman living a little bit of the charmed life, and it's 3rd and 7 now as that deep shot for the Tigers goes wanting. Hand off to Baumgartner, and he will be tackled short of the first down. It'll be 4th down and 4. Nice pursuit there by Rose-Hulman.
Good pursuit. I like the play call, though, because that sets up what you're trying to do here on 4th down. You're calling the play on 3rd down knowing what the game plan is on 4th down, knowing you're going to go for it. It's okay to run the ball there.
So McCahill getting the play in and will set his team. Rose-Hulman trying to get the ball back so they can keep this within one possession. McCahill off the mark, and Rose-Hulman's defense makes a stand. They'll take over at the 34-yard line.
And again, that gets back to the defense, the bend but don't break. You're just waiting for the offense to make a couple of mistakes. The DePauw offense obliged there. That throw was a little off target and probably a little early,
well,
to be
I think
honest.
Part of that was the penetration by the Rose-Hulman defensive line and pass rush. They didn't give McCahill the time he needed to make that throw, and that's really been critical. When McCahill has been off, it's generally been because of pressure.
Yeah, he is fielding some pressure. Nobody has gotten home yet for a sack, but definitely forcing some bad throws.
Handoff to Ruperta. He'll pick up 1. Just a reminder, folks, that you're listening to IndianaSRN and watching it here, and we're brought to you in part by Piper Logistics. From warehousing to transportation and everything in between, Piper Logistics does it all. 3 services with 1 solution. Contact them at 317-396-1023. 2nd down, a couple of fakes. Robertson out of room, and fortunately for him, tucked the ball down and picked up a couple.
Yeah, he felt that pressure, did a good job. He just gave himself time. You saw him kind of staring down a couple of receivers, and that's where you get in trouble. But
it seems clear that there's a lot more press coverage. There's coverage at the line. DePauw, that's been their adjustment. They're not letting these receivers get free runs off the line of scrimmage, and that's really jammed up this Rose-Hulman offense. Pass over the middle. Hueri not going to get close to the first down. He thought he still was not down, but they rule him down at the 40, and it's going to be 4th down and 3.
And this is on the wrong side of the 50. I'm in favor of being very aggressive offensively, but this would be a tough spot to try to go for it.
Now, the way your defense has played over the course of the last couple of quarters, I'm not sure why you would go for it here. I think if you're at the DePauw 40, different story, but they're going to go ahead and punt and rely on their defense to do really what they've done most of the last couple of quarters, as DePauw's only scored 1 touchdown since the end of the first. So nice line drive kick. It's going to bounce at the 20 and roll all the way down to the 6-yard line. And that is exactly what you want out of special teams.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And the Rose-Hulman gunner there, number 1, Jay Smith, or Che Kuso, I'm sorry, racing down, would have had it covered, but the punter didn't even need that as he was able to get the coffin corner. It goes out of bounds.
So as we reset here, getting ready for this next drive, 2:08 left in the 3rd. It's been a barn burner in Terre Haute so far today. These 2 teams, they had a hard-fought, very close battle the last 2 times they've played, and this one has lived up to that same expectation.
Yeah, this is what you want to get from an out-of-conference game. Get yourself prepared for the rest of the season.
McCahill going to hand it off. Baumgartner continues to rumble, and he'll get close to first down yardage. Looks like he'll be about 2 yards short. And an injury. Whistles blow as a Rose-Hulman player down in the defensive backfield.
And as we saw with the last player, cramps starting to become an issue.
Well, it is still 79 degrees. We'll take a quick break and come back.
Anxious over algebra? Call Ask Rose, the free science and math homework helpline. It's free world-class tutoring. Just call, chat, email, or screen share. Learn more at AskRose.org. Confused by chemistry? Call Ask Rose, the free science and math homework helpline. It's free world-class tutoring. Just call, chat, email, or screen share. Learn more at AskRose.org.
Welcome back to IndianaSRN's coverage of Rose-Hulman Fighting Engineers football. I'm Galen Clavio along with Mike Petrie. Hope you've had a delightful day, a full day of football here on IndianaSRN, and just waiting for cramp to be worked out. This is a problem, especially this time of year, Mike. You get these high temperatures, you get these humid conditions, you get players, and it's right around this time of these games where, you know, your physical conditioning starts to tail off, your hydration tails off, and your muscles start to compress as opposed to doing what you would normally like them to do, which is stay where they're at.
Absolutely. And also, when the sun goes down, players just instinctively, when the sun is up, they are much better at hydrating, keeping themselves, and kind of they know what to look out for. I think a lot of times the sun goes down, you feel like, okay, it should be cooler, I'm good. And now
we can definitely tell you from the press box, it's not cool.
No, it is not cooled down yet. No.
Just a reminder, folks, that our broadcast is brought to you in part by Officially Human, who'd like to thank our officials for today's game for their hard work and dedication. Without the officials, we do not play. So please, if you have nothing to say nice, don't say it at all. Sportsmanship is everybody's job. Also brought to you by Tam's Sweet and Savory Cafe. Great food for breakfast and lunch, plus delicious baked goods. Be sure to check out their daily specials. Open 8 to 2, Tuesday through Sunday, located at 6427 Oak Landon Road. We've also got games coming up next week. Be sure to tune back in to HCAC.tv. Alma taking on Manchester. That's not the only game of the day, because later on we've got Aurora taking on Franklin College. Be sure to check that out next week, as we'll be bringing you exciting football coverage throughout the course of the fall 2023 season. A lot to look forward to, a lot of really exciting games coming forward on the docket. That cramped player looks like it was Cheku So, as you mentioned earlier, and he has been carried off. He'll get hydrated and stretched out and hopefully get back into the game, but otherwise looks like he's going to be fine. DePauw going to come back out. Does that break help DePauw, or does it help Rose-Hulman?
I think it helps Rose-Hulman, except for the fact that their player was
that's
coming out. That's the
big
real
player
problem.
to lose.
Yeah.
That's a four-time letter winner that's cramping right now. Here's the handoff to Baumgartner, and a nice job on penetration there. That looked like Ryan Schmidt, the strong safety, coming in off the edge. He tackles Baumgartner behind the line. Baumgartner picks up 2. It's 3rd and 1.
Big third down here, because if you're able to stop DePauw short, they're undoubtedly going to have to punt inside of their own 20. You're looking at good field position. If you give up a third down, that's the razor's edge, because you give up a third down, you're on the field that much longer.
Power formation, Baumgartner into the line, and no question there. He picks up the first down easily.
And this is where you get these drives that just wear down a defense. And in all honesty, if I'm the defensive coordinator, if I'm the head coach, my sympathy runs out a little bit, because this is totally in your control. You're getting to these third downs. You've got to make a play. And right now, DePauw was the one that made the play there. You're going to get another set of 3 downs here to impact the DePauw offense.
30 seconds left in this third quarter of play. Rose-Hulman led in the third quarter last year, and DePauw came back and won. We'll see what happens this time around. First down, hand off to Whitehead, and he'll pick up about 4.
And I think this is where the depth of DePauw comes into play, that they've got a couple of running backs that they can cycle in and out. This may be where their running attack starts to really, in the fourth quarter, you start feeling it. And as a defender, you start questioning how much are you really willing to get in front of some of these tanks that are running for the Rose-Hulman Engineers.
We'll take a break and come right back. Welcome back to Cook Stadium. It is the start of the fourth quarter as DePauw, with a tenuous 5-point lead, trying to put some space between themselves and Rose-Hulman, and the Engineers trying to get themselves back in it. Handoff up the middle, Whitehead with a burst of speed, and he'll get the first down and then some. Some statistics here, Mike, as we enter this fourth quarter of play. DePauw definitely got their offense back underway again. 370 total yards of offense now for the Tigers, only 247 for Rose-Hulman.
And it's time of possession that's going to become a big factor here, as DePauw seems to have committed to this running game. And we both questioned that at halftime, but they have committed to that, and they are getting enough plays from the passing game to complement.
Kind of a weak snap there, but McCahill able to pick it up. He's pursued, going to throw that out of bounds. Smart play by McCahill, but he got popped a little bit at the end of that play and a little trouble getting up. His offensive lineman will give him an assist, but he's a little gimpy.
Yeah, and had some words. I'm not sure if he had words for the official or for his offensive lineman who let that defender go and get a free shot on him.
McCahill is cramping, and he's down now. So we're going to take a break and come back right after this.
At Morales Group Staffing, we are all about building better futures. And during these times, we are working hard to put people to work. We are now hiring for hundreds of jobs with pay up to $17 an hour. Visit our website at moralesgroup.net or text JOBS, JOBS, to 317-472-7600 to apply now and get hired today.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium. Both teams huddled up on each sideline. The big item of concern right now, Nathan McCahill, the starting quarterback and the veteran junior here out of Indianapolis, cramping, gets some treatment on the sideline. He appears to be fine, but he is struggling to maintain momentum, and he's had a really good second half, Mike. If he has to come out of the game, it's Jack Kazmarek time, the freshman out of Carmel. This is a high-pressure situation for a freshman to try to step into.
Absolutely. There are four quarterbacks on this DePauw roster. Two of them are freshmen. One is a sophomore. None of them have any throws in a game under anger.
So it is Jack Kazmarek, and he will be behind the line of scrimmage, but a flag has come, and I think that's an illegal substitution.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say
or was it delay a game?
No, there was 10 seconds left on that clock.
Yeah, so I believe what happened there, and it was hard to see in the camera shot, but it looked like they broke the huddle, and Jackson Corbett, the junior wide receiver for DePauw out of Lexington, was in the huddle and wasn't supposed to be. And so then when that happens, if you break with 12, you're going to get that flag every single time. It's automatic. So 2nd and 15, and things going from bad to worse here for DePauw.
Yeah, I was going to say, did not need to add an extra little hurdle to Jack Kazmarik's debut.
And over the head and pursued. The ball still loose, still on the ground, picked up by Rose-Hulman. What a huge turn of events here at Cook Stadium as the center skies the snap, and you don't have McCahill back there to save you this time, and Rose-Hulman's going to get the ball inside the 10.
Yeah, a great job by Rose-Hulman pursuing that, but we see the replay. That ball, and that is
from earlier. Yes,
that is the missed touchdown earlier. What I was going to see is McCahill, they're both 6 foot, but McCahill had kind of gotten into the rhythm of expecting those high snaps.
And here we see the snap, and I think a lot of this is just Kazmierczak he didn't have a shot there.
Yeah.
That was well over his head. I mean, McCahill's made some great saves, but he at least had something to work with. So big moment here for Robertson and this Rose-Hulman offense. First down. Oh, and it's intercepted! A poor decision by Miguel Robertson as he tried to hit the outside shoulder of his receiver, but just an excellent job on that defensive play. And you can see here Robertson knew exactly what he wanted to do and just didn't put the ball where he needed to. He could have aired it out a little bit, but instead threw it behind and short, and you just can't do that in that situation.
I was going to say, he got the defender to jump on the route. The problem is that he actually was throwing the ball. If you get him to jump, that's great. You had a bevy of options if you had pump faked, if you had thrown it over, throw a fade route, but he chose the one thing you couldn't do, which is throw the ball short, and jumping the route ended up beneficial for this DePauw team.
So a huge turn of events on successive plays, and Kazmierczak back in at quarterback. Baumgartner, the safe option, takes the handoff, and he'll pick up 5.
I have a feeling DePauw is going to run the ball until they absolutely cannot.
Another shot of that, and you can see that snap that went over Kazmierczak's head. Not a lot you can do in that situation, and a really good job on that recovery by Rose-Hulman's number 46. Of course, that's Jack LaCrone. So 2nd down and 5 with 13:40 to go here in this 4th and final quarter of play. And Baumgartner going to pick up another first down. And Mike, as you talked about, this is where time of possession and not being able to contain the running game can really hurt you. We've got an injury on the field. We'll take a break and come right back.
My name is Brittany. A little thing I love about the Egg White Grill is the toasty English muffin. It's toasted perfectly. It's just a little crispy, but not like hard crispy, but just crispy enough that when you bite into it, everything is perfect.
My name is Curtis, and I love the Egg White Grill because the egg itself, it's like soft and fluffy, like a pillow. I wouldn't eat my pillow, but I'd eat the Chick-fil-A breakfast egg white sandwich for sure.
They say nice guys don't finish first. So maybe it's time to reconsider what it means to be first.
It's about being your best, but knowing you can be even better.
It's being present, but respectful of history.
You sure you want to make that move?
It's donating something more valuable than money.
It's believing in yourself and something bigger.
It's coming from different families, but treating each other like brothers.
It's not just being a man, it's being a Mason.
Back here at Cook Stadium, Galen Clavio along with Mike Peter here on IndianaSRN. That injury was to the linebacker Jacob Fields, the sophomore out of Frankfort, Kentucky. He was able to walk off under his own power, so that was awesome to see. It'll be 1st and 10 for DePauw at their own 21.
And I think that break, looking at DePauw's numbers.
Handoff, and it's Whitehead, and he breaks free and gets another first down. And that DePauw offensive line really starting to get a push like they were in the first quarter, and that could spell some trouble for Rose-Hulman.
Absolutely, and as we see, McCahill back in the game, too, for DePauw.
So McCahill misses only a few plays, and fortunately for the Tigers, it wasn't more damaging than it was, as it really had the potential to be.
Could have spelled disaster, but the defense got the ball back, and by that time, McCahill's back in the game.
Now McCahill almost lost it, but gets it to Whitehead, and he takes off and picks up 20.
Whitehead is going to be an absolute nightmare for defensive coordinators all season long. You just see he makes something out of nothing, and you give him just a tiny little crease, and he is exploding 10 yards down the field.
All credit to Nathan McCahill there, though, as that snap was difficult to handle, and he almost lost it, but he managed to get it to Whitehead. So it'll be 1st and 10 at the 48 of Rose-Hulman as the Tigers back in Engineers territory. Another handoff. And a pickup of about 5 again, and that time it goes to Seth Menser.
And I had said that DePauw wasn't going to throw the ball unless they got 3rd and long. I was thinking that was with Kazmarek in mind, trying to protect your freshman quarterback, but even with McCahill, they are very content just to continue to wear down this Rose-Hulman defense. We get a look at the DePauw kicker.
A field goal here would give them an 8-point lead, but I think that the Tigers are looking for a touchdown. Rose-Hulman with some close-up coverage on the receivers and another handoff, and it is Menser once again. And I think at this point the Engineers have to think about just putting 7 or 8 in the box.
Yeah, you got to start cheating some guys up and challenge the receivers with press single coverage, because you get yourself in any further down, and we did see what the outer limits of DePauw's kicker can be. About 15 yards, you figure, is what DePauw needs to get, and they are in field goal range. You really need to get a stop here early.
High snap, McCahill airs it out, and it's knocked away at the last second. What a defensive breakup, saving what would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, and that was one. The DePauw receiver does a good job not giving away that the ball is coming. Again, you're trying to break that out.
You can see, nice stop there. We're going to take a break. Injury on the field. We'll be right back.
Myers, Vice President of IndianaSRN. Thanks for joining us. Do you know IndianaSRN broadcasts 350 games a year? All sorts of sports? Yeah, we do. Hard to believe, isn't it? IndianaSRN loves to put student athletes first on our website. If you're a business out there, we probably could help you too. Contact us at coach@indianasrn.org. Grandma from out of state thanks you. Mom and Dad who can't get to the game thanks you as well. In fact, our athletes watch the games over and over again. Our military has enjoyed the games as well. So sit back and enjoy the game. It's IndianaSRN.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium here in Terre Haute, Indiana. It's a hot one tonight, 79 degrees still. It was 88 at game time. We've got players cramping all over the place. We saw this a lot across college football today. Just, it's tough to play at the beginning of September.
Hot and humid.
DePauw going to have 2nd down and 10 after that pass breakup, and Rose-Hulman pressing some coverage. Baumgartner going to get another lane and picks up 7.
And this is where you talked about bringing an extra safety down. That doesn't even help because the offensive line is just getting such a push they're moving the defensive line of Rose-Hulman back.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do if you can't control the line of scrimmage on either side. Big play here, though, 3rd down and 4, as they did spot Bumgarner a little short. What do the Tigers do? They're going to run it, and they'll get the first down, or at least close. It might have been a little short.
That's a tough spot, but I think that ends up being right. They're going to be 4th and 1. And again, I think that's one where you run the ball knowing you're going for it on 4th down.
That's one where those fancy down markers end up throwing you off as you're trying to call it, because it looked like he'd made the line of scrimmage, but he made the first down line. It was a little bit short. They're going to keep the offense out. So 4th down and 1, and I'd be shocked if this didn't go straight up the middle, Mike.
Absolutely.
Well, he went off tackle left, but it didn't matter as it's a first down and a big conversion for the Tigers with 9:37 to play.
It was a direct run, but they had been going between the tackles. That time he goes off tackle. He does take advantage of the fact that Rose-Hulman was playing everybody into the middle.
So the Tigers getting instructions at this point with Whitehead back in the game. Feels like you could run the rest of the game down if you wanted to.
I'll be honest with you. I'm somewhat surprised Rose-Hulman didn't call timeout there. Give their defense a chance to rest and get themselves focused for what could be the biggest play of the game.
That was a much better play by Rose-Hulman, though, as they bust that blocking scheme down and stop Whitehead after a gain of 1.
The time of possession really is becoming a bigger issue. DePauw had the ball for 10 minutes in the 3rd quarter versus 5 minutes for Rose-Hulman. And here in this 4th quarter, essentially it's been every play except for one has been a DePauw possession. So that's where you're really being difficult for this Rose-Hulman defense. They've got to make a play.
High snap. Cahill picks it up. He's got a man deep, and through the breadbasket again. Jalen Smith drops a surefire touchdown.
Jalen Smith's going to have a really rough film session. That's the 3rd touchdown that he's probably dropped.
You hope with these schools being as close as they are, maybe you drive yourself home. You see the replay, and man, you didn't get a great look at the bounce out there, but that's a tough one. That was wide open.
He didn't even have his face mask to blame on that one. That went right through his hands.
3rd and 9. Rose-Hulman in bend but don't break mode right now. McCahill takes the snap, fakes the handoff, and he'll pass it to the tight end, and he'll be pulled down after just a couple of yard gains. Gabe Quigley's been real quiet these last couple of quarters. That was a great chance to get him the ball. As you can see, here's the drop earlier on from Smith. But it's going to be a field goal attempt now, or is it? No. It looks like they're going to go ahead and run a play from the line of scrimmage. 4th and 7.
7's a lot to pick up, but I like the idea. A field goal, best case scenario is you get an 8-point lead. That's still 1 score. Worst case scenario, you're giving the ball back at the 30.
McCahill, and timeout going to be called by DePauw right as things were getting going there. We'll keep it here. Just a reminder, folks, this broadcast is copyrighted by IndianaSRN and the Heartland Collegiate Athletic Conference for the private use of our audience. The use of pictures, videos, and audio without the express written permission of the HCAC is prohibited. Mike.
And honestly, I'm surprised DePauw called that timeout. I know Rose-Hulman, of course, is coming from behind, so you want to conserve timeouts, but both times on 4th down, I expected their coaching staff, you've got to get off the field. I mean, this is the play. And DePauw calls timeout, probably may have done them a favor.
I think a lot of it comes down to you want to look at what the defense is giving you. How confident are you in what you're going to do? Because, the thing, obviously, we've seen Nathan McCahill make some good throws, but so much of what DePauw has done has been on the ground. You're rolling the dice if you're trying to pick up 8 yards on the ground in that particular circumstance. So, being ahead right now, you don't mind burning one of the 3 timeouts.
That's a fair point. I think the point with DePauw, though, is that if they don't get this 4th down conversion, they can trust their defense. They can go back to, okay, we're going to defend the field. If Rose-Hulman doesn't get this 4th down, if they don't get off the field on 4th down, it really starts to feel like you're really running uphill.
McCahill will trot back out. He's got Whitehead in the backfield. Whitehead and Baumgartner have both had excellent games. McCahill has a man! Touchdown! It is Robbie Ballantyne once again, and a beautiful throw by Nathan McCahill.
And Ballantyne, you're going to start to see that connection pick up more as the season goes on, as just a fantastic pitch and catch. Great job by Ballantyne going up in the air. He gets to the ball at the high point, and we're going to see the extra point here. And that, putting it to 2 scores, really puts some pressure on this Rose-Hulman team now.
Well, especially with a relatively little amount of time remaining.
7:30 left on the game clock.
So extra point attempt for DePauw, trying to go up by 12. And good. We'll take a break and be right back.
Since we're doing things so quickly, a lot of times we know that we need help. So our professors all know us by name.
Basically, everybody knows everybody here.
That one-on-one personal connection you're getting with the faculty, you don't get that a lot of places.
We are not just saying, here, go do this hard project. We are right there with them. We work with them.
The faculty are there for you.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium. Rose-Hulman took a 21-20 lead into halftime, and it's been all DePauw since then, as they've scored 2 touchdowns here in this second half, and Rose-Hulman has been struggling for answers. The Tigers have really looked like the more impressive team. It looked like their halftime adjustments had a greater impact on the way that this game went.
Rose-Hulman found success for a bit in that first half, essentially creating space for their receivers to make the yards on their own. And once DePauw has taken that away, they've taken away even short reception opportunities. It's been very difficult for this Rose-Hulman team to find a counter.
Kick return, splitting wide and coming around the formation and finally getting knocked out of bounds there is number 19. And here's the replay. That was Eli Silva. Here's that touchdown to Ballantyne. And just a beautiful throw, and Ballantyne exactly where he needed to be.
Yeah, and adjusts back to the ball as we see kind of off his back foot there and got just enough up over the defender, and Ballantyne did a great job adjusting, found the ball, and pulls it in.
So Miguel Robertson out on the field once again and needing to make something happen. They're going to start with a run to Ruperta, and he'll bounce off a couple of tacklers and really get nowhere.
They have been committed to this running game here in the second half much more than I anticipated, and I'm not, obviously you see what the defense is doing. They're bringing some defenders out to your receivers, so you're trying to take advantage of that stretch, but DePauw has been able to cover that with just the 6 guys.
Another run here. And Mike, you brought it up earlier, and I thought it made sense to run some clock early on, but Robertson, after a great first half, has only thrown 5 passes in the whole second half and only 2 completions.
Right.
And 2 interceptions on top of that.
And some of that has been because the DePauw Tigers have done a good job of keeping the ball out of their hands overall, but the pass-run ratio has also been much more geared towards the running game.
Query gets that almost as a dump-off pass, and it goes nowhere. And that was probably Rose-Hulman's worst offensive possession since their first offensive possession. A bad time for that to happen.
Yeah, it just can't You can't put your defense back out on the field and ask them to continually hold this DePauw offense at bay. The defense has just got to be exhausted at this point.
So Rose-Hulman will punt, and it'll be Whitehead back to return. Fair catch. Whitehead playing it safe, and he'll pull that in at his 38-yard line.
I like that decision by Whitehead to go ahead and fair catch it. He had to race over to get under it, but we saw the last time that Rose-Hulman punted, Whitehead let the ball bounce, and once it bounced, it skipped another 20 yards in the direction of the Rose-Hulman end zone.
This Rose-Hulman defense going to need to come up strong if they want to get the ball back and have a shot at winning. Leading tacklers so far on the game, the free safety, Adam Field. That's not always a great sign when your leading tackler is in the defensive backfield. Caden Pierre, the linebacker out of Coconut Creek, Florida, the second leading tackler. Haven't seen a whole lot of tackles for loss out of this team. They need to generate some if they want to have a shot here over this next 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, you need to push this DePauw offense, keep them off schedule. And when I say off schedule, essentially DePauw is going to be really happy if they gain 4 yards every down going forward. That's enough that you're looking at 3rd and short every time and you're picking up first downs. They're going to be more than happy to churn that out. That would take the whole 5.5 minutes off the clock that they need.
5-yard run by Baumgartner, and that put him over the century mark for the day. 24 carries for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I was going to say, he's had to work for that 100 yards, that's for sure.
Another handoff and another first down for Baumgartner, and more, as he is a hard man to bring down.
And I think what you see there, too, is the little desperation on the Rose-Hulman side. They're trying to tackle the ball. They're trying to force a turnover, and you really can't do that. You've got to work on getting the guy. You've got to stack him up first and then go after the ball. You can't be trying to tackle a good ball carrier like Baumgartner with the ball as you're getting carried back another 5 yards.
So 1st and 10 at the 39 of Rose-Hulman, and DePauw just chewing clock now, under 5 minutes in this game.
And being very disciplined, they're not snapping the ball with more than 5 seconds left on the clock.
A little surprised that they throw here, but it worked as they get a first down out of the deal. Nice completion there to number 13, Chase Wilkinson, who we haven't heard a lot from in this second half.
No, he was the leading receiver in the first half, had some big plays, but they kept him under wraps. He does a nice job there and a good job of staying in bounds, as now he'll run off as he's feeling some cramps.
Yeah, he's going to get off on his own power, but barely. He'll get replaced by number 9, Jackson Corbett.
And they call it quick time, officials timeout, to make sure he has time to get off the field.
So 1st and 10 here at the 26. Nice job by McCahill. McCahill finally tackled. About a 7-yard gain there off what was really a broken play.
Yeah, and found the open side of the field, essentially found some running room. I think his coaches will say, feel free to slide there at some point.
So 2nd down and 3, and this clock continues to run as DePauw has really just ground down Rose-Hulman in this second half. It's been a really impressive performance by the Tigers.
Very much so. And again, it's offense complementing the defense. The offense is keeping the defense off the field. And then when the defense has to show up, they've made some big plays. 2 interceptions and a 3-and-out are essentially all of the possessions.
McCahill dumps it off here, and a nice little gain, and that'll move the chains once again. That's a new name on the game. That is, I believe, Will Castor, the sophomore out of Pendleton, Indiana, the tight end. And at this point, Rose-Hulman really has to make something happen on defense.
Absolutely, and Will Castor is a guy that I saw quite a bit play in the Hoosier Heritage Conference, and just he does a great job there. He presented, again, a big body. That's what you like as a quarterback. You like the big body. You like a big target that you can throw to.
DePauw, McCahill, Whitehead, and a flag, which I think is going to erase another nice gain by Whitehead, and that'll be a hold, it looks like, on the Tigers.
That hold will push them back. I don't think that's going to dissuade them from their overall game plan, though. 2.5 minutes left. They've chewed up 3 minutes here on this most recent drive, and that's going to be you run the ball 3 times here. Worst case scenario, you get held up, and then you're kicking a field goal to go up by 15.
So there's still, if you're Rose-Hulman, you still have to try to do something here. You got to try to stop them, but 1st and 20, DePauw's in no rush to pick up a first down here as they've got some downs to play with. McCahill. Pass completed. That's going to end up in the arms of number 48, Blake Woodard, the sophomore out of Plainfield.
I think the depth that DePauw is showing here is coming to their benefit. It's kind of, they've done a hockey-style cycle of substitutions.
And that's nice to see for Blake Woodard because he's been the blocking back, almost an H-back in those power run formations. And so it's nice to see him get on the score sheet and be able to, have something other than just, hey, you did a great job blocking to take home. Just a reminder, folks, this broadcast on IndianaSRN is brought to you in part by Morales Group, building better futures one story at a time. Locations in Indianapolis, Zionsville, Anderson, Columbus, and Lafayette. Give them a call at 317-472-7600. So DePauw, as we said, came in receiving votes in the poll, and after a shaky second quarter, they've really established themselves, I think, in a very calm manner. I was pretty impressed by how Rose-Hulman had responded early, but you have to be even more impressed by the response that DePauw gave because all the momentum was on the Fighting Engineers side going into halftime.
Yeah, you go into halftime, you're down by a point in a game where you really felt like you had outplayed the opponent at least the first 20 minutes. They did a great job at halftime reasserting what their game plan was going to be. Defensively, they have just locked down Rose-Hulman, and offensively, it's just ground this Fighting Engineer defense to a pulp.
Well, almost a bigger loss than it was, and still a little bit of a loss. A nice job on the penetration there from Rose-Hulman by number 98. That was Carlos Hillman, the senior out of Florissant, Missouri.
What's interesting, the scoreboard has a different down than the down marker.
Now the down marker's back to third.
Back to third, okay.
So, yeah, it was showing in the stadium 4th and 14. On your screen, it was 2nd and 14, and then it was actually 3rd and 14. So everybody's now in agreement. It is definitely 3rd and 14.
It evened out.
2 minutes and 14 seconds remaining in this game. 12-point lead for the Tigers. And, at this point, Rose-Hulman, your number one thing you got to do here is make a stop, get the clock stopped. 1 timeout remaining here for the Fighting Engineers. And I'll be interested to see if that's the scenario. What does DePauw choose to do? Do they go ahead and run another play? Clock stops automatically on the change of possession, so you don't gain a whole lot. But do you want to risk trying to kick a field goal when you don't have to and you don't really get a whole lot out of it?
Right. It's still a 2-score game at that point. You leave yourself open to possibly a blocked field goal. And
the DePauw continues to chew clock here, and they're going to try to do more of this. 35 minutes time of possession for DePauw. Only 19 minutes for Rose-Hulman. And Rose-Hulman was doing fine with that. They were enjoying taking shots down the field, but it's really gone DePauw's way here as we get into this 3rd down play. And great job by Whitehead, but he'll go out of bounds short of the first down.
That was kind of best case scenario for Rose-Hulman. They get the ball out of bounds and they don't have to burn a timeout to do it. 4th and 6.
Looks like we're getting the field goal unit to come on here as the kicking team going to go ahead and set up.
But I'm with you because, a blocked field goal is a low probability, but that's pretty much the only chance that you're seeing with this. And Oh, he went out of bounds before the 2-minute mark, so the clock continues to run. And
kick is no good. So a missed field goal there. The attempt, and we're not totally sure who tried that kick because there is no number 11 as a kicker on our roster. So we'll go ahead and move forward here. Rose-Hulman with a little bit of life left. They didn't have to burn their last timeout. That's big. Minute 38 left. You've shown an ability to go down the field through the air. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to kick an onside kick, and then you're going to have to get down the field again. You got to have 2 touchdowns here.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that gets a lot of teams when they are coming back from these 2-score possessions, you end up burning so much time on the first score that it short circuits any chances you have. You really have to get this first score. I feel like in that first, with about a minute, 45 seconds left on the clock.
Robertson steps up. Nice pass and catch to Daniel Hueri, who's been really silent in this second half of play. But it'll be first down. Clock stops on the movement of the chains, and they snapped it, I think, early, but no call. Almost intercepted. Pass broken up there by number 6, Cortez Stoudemire. The chains were still moving. You're not supposed to start the clock prior to that.
The ball, that's on the official. He's got to not give the ball up. But Chase Wilkinson, who that pass was intended for, just went back off the field. He was cramping up as he's trying to get himself back.
He's hitting himself in the helmet trying to get himself.
I'm not sure that's going to help, but
here's Robertson. Uncorks it. That's a wobbler and a bit overthrown there. Trying to make something happen on the outside, and
player down over there.
Yeah, we'll keep it here as there is a player down. Looks like potentially with some kind of a cramping situation. It is really hot for those that are out here. It's 9:41 here in Terre Haute. And it is still 78 degrees. I'd say the humidity's probably a solid 82%.
Sure.
This is where the term wet bulb gets thrown around, and not in a positive way. I'm not sure if there is a positive way to say wet bulb when it comes to humidity. But as we reset things here, these two teams have played a pretty good game so far, but it's been all DePauw in this second half. And the statistics bear that out. 30 first downs on the game so far for the DePauw Tigers, only 16 for Rose-Hulman, 236 yards on the ground for the Tigers, and only 66 for Rose-Hulman. And even in receiving, we've seen DePauw outdo Rose-Hulman despite some of the successes that they had. Player able to get off the field there, no problem. So we'll resume play. It'll be 3rd down and 10 at the Rose-Hulman 40.
I think what's interesting about a lot of these cramping situations is it's the defensive backs that are having to guard against those fly patterns. Kind of that one change of direction has been doing them in.
Robertson has a man, and he couldn't quite connect. That pass attempt trying to go to Chase Wilkinson, and he just couldn't thread the needle as there was a lot of coverage. Tigers dropping back into a pretty successful 2-deep zone. They're doing a good job of keeping everything in front of them.
Yeah, nice job by Tommy Ryan and Nolan Tully just squeezing the pocket around that receiver. There was just nowhere to throw it.
This is it for Rose-Hulman. It's 4th down and 10, a minute 16 to go. Robertson, pressure, rolls, tries to get his man, and it's knocked away, and that's going to do it. As the Rose-Hulman Fighting Engineers unable to complete that pass that was intended for the tight end there, number 87, trying to hit Ben Klein. And a good job by the defender there as he was able to disrupt Klein's ability to grab the ball out of the air, and then he just kind of lost it. I don't know if he would have gotten the first down anyway, but that made it elementary.
Right, and thought that was almost going to be one of those miracle catches by Klein because he tapped the ball up in the air, and as the defender from DePauw, number 8 on that, Nick Canavan, was hitting him, I thought he might get himself spun around and have a chance, but no miracle finish for the Fighting Engineers on that play.
DePauw going to take a knee and It's like no timeout taken. Rose-Hulman does have one left, but you're kind of just delaying the inevitable if you take one there. So a hard-fought game here from Rose-Hulman. They really shined in that second quarter. They really didn't look bad in the third, but all the credit to this DePauw Tigers team as they just pounded their way to success in that second half, and really, despite some struggles for a little bit, stuck to a game plan throughout, and their physical ability and really just the talent on this team kind of overcame whatever Rose-Hulman could throw at them.
Yeah, they were able to impose their will along the line of scrimmage. Really, it ended up being on both lines. Offensive line was able to create enough holes for their running backs. Defensive line shut down everything, and it became important because they were able to cover the wide receivers with their back five. They didn't have to cheat up and bring a safety into the box in order to do that.
It was a fun game all the way around. And I think both teams, as the final whistle sounds, you can see the players shaking hands. It was a fun game, and I think a game that both teams can take something out of. If you're Rose-Hulman, you're looking at this game and you're saying, well, look, if we can bottle what we did in that second quarter on offense and defense, both, like that's the recipe for success. If you're DePauw, you're looking at this and you're like, well, we took a punch, we came back, and we were able to really assert our dominance in this game, and that really bodes well for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. It's what you expect, in all honesty, in a first game, the first time that these teams have been able to face anybody that's not, their jersey. And so a little bit of inconsistency, but you expect that, and it should be a good one.
So as we wrap things up here from Cook Stadium, we're seeing, as we said, the player handshakes and whatnot. There's some final stats we can look at real quick. As we mentioned earlier, it's a game that was really dominated by this Rose-Hulman team, and you look at their overall contributions. Nathan McCahill finishes up 17-30 with 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 56.7% completion percentage. Probably not what he would have liked, but it was what they needed at the right times in this game. We mentioned Baumgartner, 122 net yards, 4.9 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. That was really impressive. And then just across the board, they got great balanced contributions from a bunch of their wide receivers. And, you have to think with DePauw, they dropped like 2 or 3 sure touchdown passes on top of what they already scored. So they might feel a little hard done by this final accounting. For Rose-Hulman, Miguel Robertson had a great first half. He didn't really do a whole lot in the second half. 25-37, 202 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Daniel Hueri, 13 catches, 85 yards, no touchdowns. That went primarily to Jalen Hobbs, who had 2, and Chase Wilkinson, who had 1. The star of the game for Rose-Hulman, outside of Hueri or Robertson, was probably the punter, Andrew Toller, who had a great game, had some great kicks, but just way too much out of this DePauw team. Final time of possession, 40 minutes and 19 seconds. That's over 2/3 of the game. You're going to win most of the time if you do that.
Yeah, that was obviously the big deciding factor in it, and especially because it wasn't nearly as big of a deal at halftime. They just controlled the clock there in that last 30 minutes. It was, I would say that was probably almost 25 of the 30 minutes they had the ball, if we're looking at the difference in that second half.
Obviously, just the first game of the season for both teams. We'll see Rose-Hulman back in action next week. They'll be on the road. They'll travel to Trine. That game is at 7 p.m. They won't be back home again until September 30th. They'll take on Anderson. That's a 2 p.m. kick here at Cook Stadium. Once again, a thanks to our game day sponsors, the Morales Group, Aspen Creek Grill, Burtner Electric, Boilermaker 374, Clean Slate, and Piper Logistics. Our thanks to the entire production crew here who did an awesome job under some trying weather circumstances. It was pretty hot throughout the course of the game, but our thanks to everybody on the staff and the camera crew and the folks here at Rose-Hulman for making us feel really welcome. Mike, great to do another game with you. It's been about 20 years since you and I worked together, so I think we slid right back into things.
Absolutely, and hopefully not another 20 years before we get back in the booth together. It was a fantastic outing and a fantastic effort tonight, really, from both teams. I agree with you. I think both teams, this is what you want in a non-conference game. Obviously, you want to win, but you get established. Here's how we're going to win throughout the rest of the season, and I think Rose-Hulman got that even in a losing effort.
The final score, once again, DePauw 33, Rose-Hulman 21. DePauw 1-0 on the season. Rose-Hulman starts 0-1. For Mike Petrie, I'm Galen Clavio. Thank you so much for tuning in to Indiana SRN's coverage of Rose-Hulman Fighting Engineers football. We'll catch you folks on the flip side. So long, everybody.